Yes, we start with saying hello to the internet. Hello, welcome to another session of Return to the Dales.
Hello.
Hey everyone, so here we are down in the Underdark. We escaped through the Zentarum held mines of Tethiamar by going down instead of going up. There'd been treachery within our party. Isabella had left our party, but she'd always remained loyal to the Zentarum throughout this. And when the opportunity came to hand over the vast wealth that we'd obtained in Adamantine and Mithril, the temptation to sacrifice us on a Mithril plate proved to be too great to resist. We've been shambling through the Underdark now for a while, and we've come across the shambling dead in the process. There have been isolated groups of zombies just wandering around. Drow and local residents such as goblins and orcs have just been stumbling through narrow tunnels that we've had no problems with dispatching. They slow us down, but only marginally as we carve our way through them and stomp their heads and move on. But now we've come to a point where a series of narrow, rock-choked tunnels were lined with cairns, great piles of rocks under which bodies were buried. There has been a kind of green miasma haze that has been leaking throughout this area, apparently emitted by an ogre, a long dead ogre that has risen from its grave along with several other long dead creatures, skeletons and zombies. And they choke these narrow tunnels, but they aren't proving to be much of a threat against our organised tactics, which is these are perhaps the fourth band of shambling undead that we've had to deal with within the past matter of hours. They're thick down here, but we know that beyond here there is a dark elf who herself appears to be beyond the pale, appears to have already perished, and they sit atop a skull made of dragon bone, the bottom jaw of a dragon. And their relation to all of this is as yet unclear. So we're caught up in this melee, going hand to hand with all of these zombies, and the ogre just can't quite get in there, being blocked as it is by the arrival of smaller zombies that clog its path. Lady Eleanor.
All right. Let's see. I guess I'll start by attacking the skeleton right in front of me.
It's very vulnerable and easy to destroy. Its bones shatter, and you knock one of its arms off, but it doesn't fall to pieces. Not until the second hit, at least, in which case it collapses in a pile of its own trash.
And then I'll bonk the one just beyond that one
All right.
for 7 bludgeoning.
And you shatter its lower jaw, knocking half of its teeth out.
All right. That's it for me.
Finnick, these are mercifully easy, at least.
I'm going to try to take 2 shots with sharpshooter at the big guy.
Oh, yeah. He's an easy target. And they both land with precision. Oh. Oh. Okay, so you absolutely pop it, and maybe you hit like a central gas. Maybe its gut, perhaps, has blown up with the gas, or perhaps its lungs. Whatever it is, you pierce it, and it explodes, and chunks of this ogre rain down all over the skeletons and the zombies, but mercifully stopped short of dirtying our boots, and Moog Stromluck is spared that disgust. Moog.
All right. Are these two still alive? Connor?
They are. They're breaking though. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll just start swinging. Hold on. Let me bring it up. See. Sorry, technical difficulties. My screen just went.
All good.
There we go. 1, 2 to the guy in front of me.
Alright, the 10 won't be enough. He'll manage to parry your first attack, but the second one will knock his head off. Oh, to the one in front of you, the zombie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Maybe not so much as a parry as its arm gets in the way.
And that's it.
It's a slow process, but we're getting through it, flightless.
We'll send an arrow at the skeleton. I'll actually bonus action steady aim first.
That'll strike. And scatters it, falling down like the pins in a bowling alley. The zombies remain ready to ambush anyone who approaches them. So their attacks are predictable and slow. And with nothing in their way, they shamble forward, one by one, pushing past each other in an attempt to get at the meat. But their tactics are predictable and simple. And they all just climb over Morg and try to grab at his beard and at his nose and anything that they can find that might be exposed.
Good fun.
I left my torch, but can I just try that to myself again? It's meant to be like the torch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, drop a torch down if you've got one.
I just when I moved my token, I just forgot torch one.
Oh, yep, sure. Yeah, so the zombies try to get into Moog at the world's slowest mosh pit, but there's little they can do. And Artisan, even if they had have had a chance of hitting the Steel Defender, might have been able to wrangle it out of their grips.
All right. I'm going to step here and shoot my bow at this guy. Is he going to have a bonus to anything?
Probably not. They're, I mean, even if they've got armor class 8, so it's entirely possible that it'll have an insignificant bonus and you're still going to hit. That should do it. Casually fire
And
down
another
there.
one.
Yeah, but the second hit's more effective.
Crit.
Alright. And you lodge an arrow in its head and send the zombie into a spin. It turns around and it starts going back the other direction.
And then I will have my, whatchamacallit. Since he's trying to run away, I'm going to have this guy come onto the field, the homunculus servant. And he's going to make a force attack at him. Has a range of 30 feet.
Excellent. And even with an 8, he's still going to hit. Bam! And blasts its head apart, and the body keeps walking off without a head for a few steps before falling over.
And my Still Defender takes the dodge action, and I want to have this guy go back into my pocket.
Alright. He settles back in there. Lady Eleanor, they did appear to be a significant roadblock, but they haven't proven to be sport.
I still worry about their master, though. So I'll attack the one closest to me.
Blubbering.
7.
Yeah.
And then 13.
Alright, and it's still barely standing, though you're not sure you'd call what's on its shoulders a head. More like
I'll
a
try to
bottom
knock it
jaw.
off.
Alright.
With a 9.
And you clean it up until there's nothing left. And only one shambling zombie that doesn't seem to be perturbed by the loss of its entire army. Just got to give it to zombies. They're real go-getters. They just don't stop once they've got something in their heads.
That's me.
Finnick, the last
Ooh.
zombie, remains comically unaware of the danger it's in.
We'll use bonus action to move the hunter's mark onto it, just to make sure.
Alright.
And sharpshooter, just
That's a miss. The first arrow comes at it, and the zombie snatches it out of the air and looks at the arrow, thinking of when it was a monk, when it was still alive. Bit of a throwback. Then the second one slams into it, and it falls to the ground, and its turmoil is over. The cloud lingers, but it looks like it will not be lingering for too long.
Is it represented on the graphic of the sphere circle? For you?
No, but I'll put the ogre back, since where he died is basically where the gas is.
That was fun.
Don't relax just yet. We still have their master to deal with.
More fun. So can we go a different route around the gas?
There's no other way.
Like up here? Does it circle around or?
No, it doesn't,
doesn't.
sadly.
So we need to wait.
Essentially. Unless you want to walk into the gas.
No.
I guess do we
I
wait,
can test the feat.
we just wait one round then?
It certainly doesn't dissipate after one round. It lingers there. There's no wind down here, of course. No wind at all. And if anything, your breathing is the only vector, and it's pulling it very mildly, pulling it towards you.
Right.
Can I take a sample to see if it's flammable and also like how damaging it is?
Yeah, it's quite acidic, and so it irritates your skin. Technically, it could damage you potentially, but not the small exposure of going in and getting a sample is not going to do anything more than tarnish your paint.
I guess can Flightless try to listen to see if he can hear anything still shambling in the other rooms, like the one next to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Make a perception check. All right, even with such an awful roll, you still do hear a little bit of stones sliding and settling, crack, 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 crack. Like a few stones rolling off other stones.
We got a grappling hook and rope, right?
Talent.
Do we have a grappling hook and rope?
Not on me.
Nor me.
No. Grappling hook here.
Crowbar, but no grappling hook in Dungeoneer's pack.
Unless climbing gear would have a grappling hook in it.
We just grapple it and drag it to out of the way, and
I think at that point we should just walk through it.
right, lead the way.
I want to do the test to see how damaging it would be.
Alright, make a constitution saving throw.
For myself, or
Yeah. If you're trying to like work out are you immune to poison?
I have advantage on saving throws.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, so go ahead and make a roll with advantage. Yeah, well, it doesn't seem to be affecting you, but you know, like you recognize that it's toxic, but it's not having any effect on you.
Keep walking. Figure out where we need to go.
Did a test with alchemist supplies reveal anything?
It'll take a minute to sort of make those tests anyway. Do we want to wait the minute?
I'll remind everybody that in this sort of area, the homunculus saw the dark elf witch / necromancer, and she could very well still be there.
I can send the homunculus servant to go take a look.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if it's immune to poison, you can send it straight through.
I don't have light on them.
Oh, it doesn't have light? Okay, cool. I assume that it does have. It's meant to have dark vision, is it?
Yes, 60 feet.
Cool. Vision. Yeah, so all I need to do is switch it on. Working now, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rest of
I will
you.
make a.
Yep.
I was just going to say I was going to do a stealth check.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that it's quiet around here. Normally, the Underdark has the sound of bats, for example, cicadas, but there's none here where life has died.
A 3 on that die.
That's pretty. So you run into a stalactite, and in the distance, everyone hears the crashing sound of rocks falling from the roof.
He'll take a peek anyways. Has he changed at all?
She is opening one eye, although only one eye can be opened since the other one is just a socket. But she's still sitting down, cross-legged, on the dragon skull throne.
Does it appear that gas? Go ahead.
Can the homunculus hear as well? It's got ears, of course.
It says it can understand languages, so I'd say it can hear.
Can you only see through its eyes, or can you hear through its ears as well?
I can't hear through its ears, but it can tell me.
Yeah, so it it has telepathic communication with you, does it?
I have a message active with it, going back and forth.
Okay, very cool. That's pretty advanced. It's like warlock levels of familiar that you got going there. All right. It tells you that she said your arrival was foretold.
Pass that along to the party.
That's not ominous at all.
Just I want to watch it once.
He can't speak to
I
it.
told you we needed to talk to it.
Well, now that its zombie defenders are dead, maybe we can.
How long is this poison gas going to stay for, do we think?
It looks like it's disappearing, and it's still lingering for now. But a few minutes from now, it probably will be just a bad smell.
Sweet. Sorry, can I get like vision on my thing? Because I want to cast Beast Sense on it.
Absolutely. Vision, night vision. Has he got dark vision? 60 feet?
Yeah, 60 feet.
Cool. Alright, I'll try to save this token this time so it won't be needed again.
That was my fault last time. I think I deleted it when it died, and I'm just going to like put a cross in it and drag it to the side.
Cool. Hit points. 45. It doesn't need a name, I don't think. Oh, I can give it its name, I suppose. Okay, no, that's not quite right. There we go. And I'll save him, and that should be the last time it needs doing. The homunculus won't be saved, but switching him over is a lot easier. The Drake. Alright. No changes. Alright, see if you can move that. I'll just delete the
I
other
can
one.
I can move and see
Yeah.
through both of them.
Good, good. So I'll delete the old one. And you've got control over the new one. That's good.
Sweet. So I will cast Beast Sense on it, and then just kind of stroll through the poison.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, the poison is quite mild, and it's dissipating now. But he's immune to poison, is he?
Yep. I summoned in the poison dragon for this fight.
Yeah, I thought that was the case. And so you're able to follow the sounds of the homunculus as he breaks things up ahead.
Oh wow, that is one ugly.
Huh. Yeah, it's something else. So this mummified figure sits on its throne, its dragon skull throne, and stares at you with its one good eye, while a cloudy light drifts out of the smoky eye socket. Yeah, those of you, if you can see through their eyes, then you'd see the lips moving, but I don't know if either of them can understand the language.
Oh no, the dragon only understands Draconic.
It's not.
Guess I'll
It's
just
common,
say.
which is not a common language down here.
Guess I'll just say through Finnick, it appears to be talking to the dragon, but I can't understand it through the dragon.
Drow chicks are usually a lot hotter.
Oh no, because I hear what it hears, so I'll be able to understand what it says, right? Because it's like me listening.
If you can hear what it hears,
Yeah,
if you have
because I
that
see and
ability.
hear.
Oh yeah, then that works. Yeah. So you arrive after she's already begun her spiel, but you do catch it to midway through. There will come a time when night survives and daylight dies, when the spider screams and cries, when you shall ask the dead to rise, and when you give counsel to the wise, when you see through the vampire's lies, when you hear the sorcerer's smiles, when you invite the white to fight by your side, when the fates you shall decide, when you at last swallow your pride, eternal life shall be your prize.
I guess
And
I
she
was going
begins
to order
repeating.
I think it'd be like tacked down because I'll definitely not remember that.
Oh, we
You're
just
like,
got it.
Like a mantra. She says it again. And
guess
the third
since
time.
I'm deaf and blind on Finnick, you'll just start saying it out loud. Not like be able to get any responses.
Is this like a known prophecy, or is this like the first that anyone's hearing of it?
She could probably make a history check, though I don't think it's come up before. You're pretty good with your prophecies. You know all the big ones, and this doesn't fit into any of them.
So are we next to her? Hanging out yet?
No, but assuming since we've waited a minute, the characters probably have, and during that time, the ogre is its potency lingers a little bit, and we're able to cover our mouths and just walk past.
And then the blessings are gone.
Where's the lady? Is she up here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
beyond
further
that.
up.
Yeah.
Let's go say hi.
Yes, I will end my spell here so that I can move.
Right.
Mm. Where is she?
Over there.
Down the end of this hallway.
Right.
She, as we begin to appear, blue flames begin to appear upon her skin and start burning all over her. Her eye burns blue as well.
I do a greeting. Hello.
You
Put my
have
arm-
arrived, she says.
We have.
As it was foretold.
Who foretold it?
Kiaran Sali, goddess of death.
What'd she say?
She said that it will be you who shall lead the armies of the dead against the living.
I got some living. I'll lead your armies against right now.
Yes, yes, many enemies you have, below and above the crust.
There's a whole mine. And I point back towards Teddybear. That's being filled right now with unsuspecting, greedy, living souls for you to take.
Yes, yes, they will be taken, and when they are dead, you shall lead them. I know who you are. I know where you have been and what you seek.
What do I seek?
You seek the restoration of your homeland. You seek the glory not for yourself but for your people. You seek a legacy that will endure beyond the next battle.
I'm not transparent, am I?
I have been watching you. Kiaran Salih has introduced me to you all. So I know that the prophecy of the Pale is for your ears.
So you know us. What's your name?
I am Diagra, and I am your prophet. I am here to direct you towards your enemies. Your ancient enemies, the Drow, are weak right now. Never has there been a better time to strike. In times past, in centuries gone, attempts to dislodge the drow might have removed a leader or have interfered with a city, but now it could collapse your entire society. It is your destiny to be the spear that drives the Loth back into the abyss.
Mhm.
Are you sure this isn't Lost Will? She's a love of chaos, is she not?
Perhaps, but if so, then she has a hatred of her priests here, for she has turned against them. She has abandoned them. She is already mortally wounded, but you shall be the dagger that is driven into her heart and finishes her.
I guess Flyers will repeat the part where it's like when the spider screams and dies.
Yes, yes. If you wish to see the spider screaming and dying, you should travel to Zitharanea, where the spider is locked up within her web and she cannot escape. But she awaits the exterminator. Wait.
What's in it for your god?
All things come to Kiaran Sali. Nothing is in it for us. You have been chosen to lead her armies. It is inevitable. Destiny is forged.
This Kieran Sully. Have I ever heard of that god before? Because it didn't sound familiar.
It'll be a religion check, but it's pretty obscure, unless you happen to be an elf, particularly a dark elf.
Nah. I guess I'll try it. Maybe I'll get a natural 20. Who knows?
Exactly, yeah, DC would be above 20. 15 might tell you something.
Can we just ask her? I'm just a dwarf. I know nothing of your goddess.
But you know death, as all creatures do. Then you know Kiaran Sali, for she is the god of death in this world and all worlds beyond. As Loth is the god of spiders, Kiaran Sali is the goddess who reigns over the dead.
Hmm.
So tell us, what does she
Bad
want
check.
us to do?
She wants you to embrace the prophecy, to walk its path. Do not reject the shackles of destiny.
Fine lady, I worship the gods of war. They go hand in hand with death.
Yes, yes. Wage war with your army of the dead.
What army will you give us?
Destiny shall provide it to you, the army that will destroy all of Drow civilization.
Where do we start?
Look for the Skull Fort. There your soldiers await you.
And are they
can't-
going to attack us? How do they know who we are?
If they believe the prophecy, then they will trust in its words, in its providence.
You can't seriously be considering her offer, can you? Leading an army of the dead against a god? I can hardly think of anything more abhorrent.
It is your destiny.
She seems pretty convinced of this. You can't fight destiny.
You have come from lands south with your friend, whom you thought would always be by your side. But she has departed from you. In the sands of the desert you lost your way and will never be reunited again. though you missed her only by mere moments, for she came to your aid when you needed it most, but you knew not she was there.
That's enough.
Answer me something, wise woman. Tell me, what did I see in that form? Who corrupted the dwarves of Tediamar? Who spoke to me?
That was Tharizdun, the eldest of the destroyers. He is less of a god and more of a corruption festering at the heart of the world. There are some say that his words created the abyss from which all demons sprang. But there is one thing even the demons do fear. They cannot escape death.
Maybe you can see the future, but that doesn't mean you control our destinies. Or your god, for that matter.
I lay claim not to pull puppet strings upon your hearts and make you dance like marionettes. I merely show you the strings that are already attached to your hands and your feet and your tongues.
So you say we should go to a skull. Where's the skull?
Look for the pale water, and there at the edge of the water rests the skull.
And then what?
And then destiny will reveal her chain.
And we just continue down this path? Is that how we're going to find it?
Destiny will show you the path.
Will you allow us to pass?
I will not stop you. I will not interfere in your fate.
Well, it was a pleasure.
Yes, there will come a time when night survives and daylight dies, when the spider screams and cries, when you shall ask the dead to rise, when you give counsel to the wise, when you see through the vampire's lies, when you hear the sorcerer's smiles, when you invite the white to fight by your side, when the fates you shall decide, when at last swallow your pride, eternal life shall be your prize.
Indeed. Shall we be off? I start walking.
Guess we shall.
Your boots click and clack as you pass on by. And as the last of you lingers, she slowly begins to close her one good eye.
Well, just before I leave her sight, I hesitate and then speak up once more. So, you know of this companion I journeyed with?
Yes.
Does she still live, or does she dwell now in the domain of the dead?
Oh, she lives, though right now, at this very moment, she fights for her life to save you.
What? Impossible. I saw her get swallowed up by a dragon.
Yes. She was swallowed by the dragon, but the dragon was not strong enough to hold her, and she erupted forth.
Uh, this. Where? Where is she?
She is following your footsteps, but they have grown cold.
that'll be all. I start walking away with my just looking straight ahead.
All right, let's get down yonder a bit so we can start conversing.
A few hundred feet down through the twisting, turning passages, avoiding the narrowest ones and sticking to the main path.
There you go. That was fun. Get to talk to a drow wraith. That's live to tell. Get your prophecy told. Come on, that was like visiting a fortune teller with direct access.
Still don't know if I believe its words. It's so far-fetched and fantastical, and what she told me about my companion couldn't possibly be true.
Who is this lady that toils in the underworld?
She was known as Mara, a great friend of mine. I'd known her ever since I was a child. She journeyed with me from Cormier to these lands and met what I assumed to be her demise in the desert. But if that creature's words are to be believed, then she yet lives.
Then that's good, is it not?
Not so much, because the words that followed were she was fighting for her life.
Don't you have that wizard that wants to take you down to the underworld and fight demons?
Yes,
Hey, it looks like a plan is starting.
I suppose I need some time to process this.
Aye. Let's start marching towards our army of dead. See what the fates have for us.
Very well, then.
While we go along, I do have an idea of how to sense direction. If because I take it that there's a lot of volcanic rock around.
Absolutely.
When volcanic rock forms, it shapes itself in accordance with the magnetic field, and you can tell kind of which way is north and south
Cool.
with the magnetic field.
Yeah, awesome.
I could
Awesome.
do like a stone check or a mason
Yeah.
tool or something, whatever you'd like.
Either of those would be fine. Yeah, stone tools, masons. Like, if there was an engineering skill, that'd be great. But either of those is good. Get out some iron filings and try to see if they align with the poles. And not only can you not to tell north from south, but you can't really tell up from down. You have no idea how deep we've gotten. If we've started going west instead of east, yeah, you know that we've gone vaguely deeper, but whether we're underneath the desert or underneath the mountains is a mystery to you.
I actually think I did that check wrong. Well, I don't have my stuff set up because it could be plus 12.
That would be different. That would be quite different to a total of 9.
Yeah. I set it up wrong, but yeah, it's a total of 14 then.
14. Okay.
And I'll slap my Flash of Genius on it to make it 17.
All right. Oh, that's much better. You're certain that you're going east. You think that you're going southeast of the mines of Tethiamar. You're probably not particularly deep. You're probably at a depth of like merely 300 feet, 100 meters. You know, it's not that deep underneath the surface, but there's a mountain on top of you. So while you might only be a couple of 100 feet below the surface, the mountain is far, far higher than the surface, and the further we go east, the higher the mountain gets. So, again, technically you're in the shallows, but in practicality, you're beneath the roots of a mountain.
Awesome.
Well, at least we know we're
Yeah.
headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
home. It's cozy.
There's another piece of trivia that you should know with that roll. If you're the minimum you can get on is a 17 or whatever on a directional check, then you'd know the existence of the Old Dwarven Highway. You couldn't not know it. The Old Dwarven Highway was meant to terminate at Tethiamar or maybe at some other dwarven holding a little bit further beyond that. But from what you understand, the Old Dwarven Highway terminated at Tethiamar. And it went all the way to Mithril Hall, to Gauntlgrim specifically, over far in the west, which is on the other side of the Anarok Desert and halfway to the Sword Coast. It's hundreds of miles long. And it's a remarkably straight piece of engineering, 30 feet wide, 30 feet tall, just this huge vaulting chasm that drills all the way through the Underdark from one side to the other. This is not that. This is nothing like that at all. These are the caves of the of monsters and natural caverns, natural rock caverns. And if anything, we're going further away from the Dwarven Highway because it runs to the west, and we want to go to the east. So maybe not so helpful, but important trivia to know since you're in the Underdark.
Well, we have divine guidance from the Queen of Death. So
Right?
let's keep rolling that luck. See where it takes us. If it takes us
Exactly.
to a mine that goes to the north and then snakes us away to the west, then let's follow it.
Very good. That random encounter that was rolled, I suppose we'll just start again. I don't know whose that was. Doesn't really matter. Artisan, could you roll a D12? Yeah, I thought it was a D12. Very good. So, having passed on by from the poison and passed on by from the zombies, we come across a few more small bands of skeletons and other undead critters. But they don't really bother us. Do we try to do anything other than just smashing their heads in?
Well, are they even attacking us? They should be.
They're in your way, right? Like if you come to a narrow passage that's only 3 feet wide and it's got 4 skeletons in there trying to climb out, they're never going to get out.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're really working on a path towards the undead Queen of the Undead, her thing or her minions gonna keep attacking us as we go closer to the skull?
I guess now's the time to find out.
Yeah.
So what do you do to get their attention? They're trying to climb up these walls. Climb.
Aye. Take us to the skull.
One of the skeletons turns its head 90 degrees. Well, it's still trying to climb, but its head just rotates on the spine to look at you with its shoulder. Its whole body then follows rotating, and the other two slowly notice. And they start squeezing their way through the narrow chasm, moving towards you with their bony hands raised.
I'm gonna have my skill defender be
What
there,
was-
ready to deflect an attack if
What was the
necessary.
lady's name again? The queen, the goddess of death.
TRN Salih, which is going to be a hard one to remember.
TRN Salih. Says we are on the path to the skull. Take us there.
The skeleton starts clawing at your eyes with their bony fingers.
All right, then it's being blocked. Bring it. Start smashing skeletons.
Bam! And 3 hits later, their skulls are broken and they're just shards on the ground. Experiment
So-
failed, successful, you decide.
This is so much from Divine. I have luck from the Underdark, or the Underworld. Keep on see where the fates lead us.
Maybe.
Is there any path that's going through the direction that we want to go? Like towards the Dwarven Highway?
We're probably going away from that.
Yeah, but we don't have any direction. Like, we were on one road. Like, there was no forks or any other, like, it forked to go back.
On the contrary, there have been lots of forks, and I haven't really mentioned them because most of them are really narrow, really small, and in really inconvenient locations. But there's been one central chamber. A river runs through here, and it runs through here, most of the time that we're down here as well. There's often a bit of trickle of water that we're passing on by. This place isn't completely dry, and there are countless small tunnels that have gone off here and gone off there, and most of them would be absolute death traps. They're only a few inches wide, and you don't know how long they go for. But this one just keeps on going and going and going. So it's not that there's not branches. There's been countless branches. It's just that so far we've been sticking to the biggest, widest passage, what we'll call the Umberhulk passage, because it's big enough for the Umberhulk to have come through.
All right,
So it's Umberhulk tourism.
let's go keep the Underhooks tourism. I don't feel like going splunking. You guys want to
go? Is there some sort of check we could do to see if, like, Umberhulk are known to migrate certain ways?
Yeah, sure. Nature check at disadvantage because it's pretty, obscure, and none of us are Underdark scholars.
Let's find out if I can make that roll. Unless anyone else does anyone have a good nature roll? Because I have only a +3.
Average.
Yours wouldn't be a disadvantage, flightless, since you are an Underdark critter.
I have a decent wisdom. Nature?
Yeah.
14.
Alright, there is a notable lack of scholastic pursuits into the migratory habits of the Umberhulk, but it is a doctorate that is available to you if you're looking for a special project once you get your undergraduate. But mostly, Umberhulk trails are thought to be confusing. That's what they are more than anything else, is confusing. And so they follow no particular logic. If any logic, it's the search for water and life and prey. But beyond that, we're on our own.
Well, if they're going towards water, life, and prey, then we might end up somewhere that can lead somewhere else.
He's right, Lady Eleanor, could you roll a d12 to test this theory?
Nice.
Alright. So now you can roll, I think it's 1d70. Yeah, 1d70.
64 on Behold.
64 on Behold. Okay. Okay, and so you've travelled now through the Underdark for 4 or 5 hours. It's starting to get unsettling. It was probably unsettling as soon as you entered here, and you've been through a few different environments. There's small rivers and small patches of mushroom gardens. They've been completely dry caverns, very narrow caverns, places that are extremely tall, but you have to squeeze through. So you've seen, even in a couple of hours travel, a few different environs that the Underdark has to offer. Now you find some symbols in Dwarven that have been carved into the stone, and they're almost impossible to miss because someone has stuck phosphorescent ink into them. And what I mean by that is, like, imagine you've got a glowing beetle, right? And you crush up its guts, and its guts glow like radioactive mush. And you take that paint, and you could give yourself some kind of phosphorescent paint on your face or on your body or whatever, glow in the dark body paint. But what they've done here is they've etched there's already some dwarven scrapings etched into the stone, and they've just highlighted those with this glowing insect blood. Simpler than dwarven.
Can I read them?
Yeah, it says trespassers will be executed. This is the property of the Hailstrom family.
Hailstrom.
Hailstrom. I suppose that sounds familiar, does it, Moog?
Does it?
You
Do I
can
know the
make a
house?
go ahead and make a history check. It'd be a disadvantage for everyone except for you. You've never heard of them, and you've heard of every dwarven family, in Cormier.
Can I date the etchings and paint?
Yeah, absolutely.
What spec would you like me to use?
So stoneworking, masonry, history, all of these are good.
Okay. I want to make a roll with my Mason's tools again, but it's
Yeah,
going to be the
sure.
12.
They're recent. They were probably put here a couple of centuries ago, maybe 200, 400 years ago, and they've been used since then, but they've been kept up to date. So somebody's been using these trails for a couple of hundred years, and they're using them now. Yeah, it's apparently these runes would indicate that there is a facility here, a mining operation, and it's the private property of a particular noble house. And to walk any further would be to invite death.
Lucky us. Maybe they'll help us.
Yeah, I think
Hey,
they may
wait.
help a...
Somehow I
Keep
don't
walking.
think that they will.
I don't think we
They
have
just
many
claim you as
options.
their property.
There you go. We got an army of the undead.
There's also the respect of the stout folk that I have as a clan crafter, and then there's, of course, Moog.
Well, if you think we can
So they
appeal to
might.
them, then
I'm a-
by all means.
I'm a Hammer Morgan.
Also, this might be Dwerger.
Walker, yeah, there you go. Good call. That's all right. We'll figure it out. They don't seem to have an army down here. We can handle anybody that they send. Keep our path going. This
Very
must
well.
just be prospecting lands. Doesn't mean that they have it enforced.
I'm just going to equip my shield.
I'll do the same. We can try to make our presence known, or unless y'all wanted to try to sneak through.
Just keep walking. They knew we're here. We got a light. People can see us for miles away. We're like armored and have a light. There's no hiding in the Underdark. If anybody wants to engage us, they it's not like we're stealthing.
Well,
Is
to
there
be
any way I
wary
can
of,
walk in a way that I can use someone else as like a human shield if we get ambushed? That's what I'm going to
Yes,
do.
absolutely.
The shield blocking one side and the dwarf blocking the other side.
That's right. Yeah, he's not really tall enough, and he's at least broad enough to protect your slim frame.
I think I'm shorter than a dwarf. I think
Oh, are you? How
I'm,
convenient.
I'm small. I'm only 3.
Bunny master race.
and keep your eyes open for any traps. If this is the perimeter of someone's property, it stands to reason they might defend it with traps.
Can I have my... Oh, go ahead.
No, that's good thinking. But
Can I have... Oh, go ahead.
I just think they're protecting prospecting lands. And this is just a warning to stay out of there. The mining area.
Yeah, well,
Can I
interesting
have
that
my...
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm terrible at interrupting over internet. Can I have my servant fly it in front of us by 120 feet while maintaining a message connection?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And so with this scout in front of us, the homunculus tells you that it hears loud noises, and soon after we will hear them too. The sounds of picks breaking up stone, maybe predictably, but also the sounds of livestock getting agitated and stamping and champing. The sounds of chains and whips, and things being dragged along great heavy slabs, pulled and pulled and pulled. So there's some serious industrial activity going on, but it all echoes, and it all seems to be coming from different directions and bouncing back in on itself. And the whole thing just becomes an orchestral drone of mechanized sounds, buzzers and chips and whistles and blasts, all adding percussion to the rhythm.
Do the whip cracks, are they followed by humanoid cries or the mewing of animals?
Oh, make an insight check. Yeah, it's somewhere in between. Some of it is definitely livestock, or if it's not a bull, then it's a minotaur anyway. But
Right.
other things, right? But other things sound more like a mix between human and beast, like an orc or a goblin.
All right, time to do some reconnaissance, boys, ladies, creatures, lady characters. Why don't we get a defensive position here and stop going forward and send the reconnaissance units up all the way to do their special things.
It would be good to get a visual on what's making these noises.
Well, who's the not loudest of us all? I won't be sneaking on anything.
The homunculus seems the best choice. It's very small, very agile.
And can fly.
Very good.
Then I will send him forward. He can scout ahead and then come back when he sees
Alright.
something.
So, what he describes to you upon his return is a vast open cavern. It appears to be a couple of 100 feet across, but it's illuminated with gas lamps or oil lamps or something. So even though it's that big, there you can kind of see bits and pieces of it. It's still very dark within there. A lot of it's drowning in darkness, but a lot of it's illuminated. And within this central cavern, there appear to be maybe 8 or so tunnels leading off it, mostly at surface height, but a few of them higher up into the walls, and a few of them actually into the floor. But wherever there are these holes, they've got more gas lamps or oil lamps or whatever they are, and a few guards. So several holes, passageways, each of them guarded by a couple of individuals. You also spot a few scorpion riders getting around, Dwaga on giant scorpions or giant spiders. Up on the roof, there's a few giant spider riders keeping a bit of surveillance. They've got their crossbows just hanging off from the roof, ready to just surveying the place for hostilities or suspicious transactions and so on. But it's a very industrial area. There is a couple of heads of livestock, mostly Roth, which are like an underdark cow, big shaggy yak, But by the sound of it, most of those Roth are in the darkness. They're not in the parts that have the illumination. They're just maybe grazing or something, or tethered somewhere in the darkness of the cavern. And finally, there is what you might call an office or a trading post, maybe. It appears to be a fortified area. Maybe it's just a barracks, but a fortified stone area built into or to protecting one of the passages. That doesn't actually have anyone attending to it at the moment, but has some of the dwarven sigils for trade, like a welcome to our city type of banner. If they didn't really want to welcome you, and if it wasn't really a city.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know much about Dwergar. I'm not sure what their reaction might be if we were to just step into their line of sight.
Shai, this isn't your domain. Let's say
So what was
What
that?
was
You
that?
cut out in the middle.
what say ye? What is this? It's your world.
My world, hardly.
Flightless.
Oh,
It's just like, I guess you look at that. They're like drow but dwarves.
Are they up for trade?
They're evil. They're cruel. They'll probably want to make you a slave.
Aye, but will they trade passage? You look like a creature of the Underdark. Can you barter with them?
I guess, can we do a history? But from what I know of them, it's unlikely for other Dwerga.
They're
Sure.
They're dwarves. They just want to make a profit.
But they're also cruel.
All dwarves are cruel.
26.
They are definitely a mercantile people, like highly military industrious, to be sure, but it's a dangerous environment, and they're not welcome on the surface either, so their militarism is hardly surprising. It's one of the reasons for their success. But yes, they are a trade-based society. Indeed, a lot of the profits that the Zentarum have made over the years have come from their contacts with Dwaga.
Because I think the issue is we as non-Dwerga probably wouldn't have rights. Nothing was
No,
legally saying, okay, you're all slaves now.
that's absolutely true, and it's just a matter of whether the number of slaves that they lose apprehending you is worth the investment.
You're all members of the Zentarum, aren't you?
no.
We can try something. We can, firstly, Eleanor can don a black gauntlet, which she may be against, but if it gains us passage, she might agree. And also, we can offer to trade for passage.
That's what I'm saying. You're all members of the Zentarum. Might as well take advantage.
I'm not a member of the Zentarum.
Wink,
Everyone
wink.
thinks you are if you have a black gauntlet.
I will not wear that disgusting thing.
It doesn't have to be you. They could be the officers.
Hell, I'll wear it. We can probably offer one of our precious metals, like a 50 to 100 pounds of it, probably.
I would not be bringing that up because they would be
They would take
figuring
it.
out where all of it. We would be on fight for our lives.
Mm. Do we have anything else that can pay for our passage?
Apart from cold steel, it seems not.
Yes,
We got no
15,000
gold. There we go. Gold is always worth something.
Perhaps a few thousand gold might buy our passage then. While it is true from what I've heard described of them that they might decide to just enslave us and take all of our possessions. If it seems impossible for them to defeat us, then they may be more willing to accept the trade.
Well, we got one plan, and that's the plan of being nice. How about the plan of sneaking? Is there a sneaking plan?
I don't think we'd be able to sneak past basically an army of Dorger.
Is there any paths or bends or anything that can get us out of this pickle? Or do we have
There's
to
no
be-
way. Well, there's two. There's perhaps two. First of all, you could go back. You could backtrack, a quarter of a mile and find one of the larger offshoots and hope that leads somewhere and keep following it for a while, and maybe it doesn't, maybe it doesn't, and so if you're willing to to backtrack significantly and take a gamble, then you might find a way around it. As we mentioned, there have been countless offshoots going off this whole time. We just haven't explored them because we've wisely stuck to the Underdark tunnel, the widest one that we found. Alternatively, we could go into the cavern because there's no way past it, but there is a lot of darkness in there. The whole cavern isn't illuminated. On the contrary, it's there's like half a dozen, no, there's more than that. There's about a dozen light sources inside this cavern that is hundreds of feet in diameter, which probably illuminates maybe mathematically a quarter of it, maybe less. But it's just patches of light in the darkness within this great vault. But we don't know what's in there, and we can hear that there are definitely beasts in there.
About them probably attacking us or enslaving us, I do feel that since they are allied with the Zentarum, they would be a lot less likely to openly attack them.
How about this ruse? We're for the Zentarum. They've just taken the mines of Tadimar. We could tell them that, and then we are scouting to protect our front and to identify any passages that might lead outside. And we're a scouting party looking for possible routes into the mines of Tadimar, and we're following them out to see where they come up.
Or establish like a back door for or an escape route from Tadiamar if it becomes under siege.
Same difference.
And we can ask them for directions on a path to the surface.
There you go, and we're prepared to pay for their expertise. And I hope you're all good actors. And the paladin has to shut his mouth.
Well, you cannot rely upon me to do the speaking, I'm afraid, as not only will I not wear that abhorrent gauntlet, but I also cannot speak a lie.
Means to an end, brother. Sister.
You have your ideals, I have mine.
Give me the robe, I'll be the bun. And I'll hide my stuff.
Do the Zentarum give dwarves black gauntlets?
I assume pretty much anyone can get one.
It's a symbol of rank, isn't it, or an authority?
They sent us down here because of Warforge. Because of our experience in the mines, you and me. And the flightless. That's why we're here.
If you think you can pull off this ruse, then by all means. I'll be ready to back you up should it go south.
Warforge, you do the talking.
I have
You have the
charisma.
I have to.
Actually, being from the Underdark, are there any,
But you have the history.
Would Flightness know any special characteristics to Dwaga, from his history with the Underdark that the rest of the party should probably know before we head into this?
Yeah, sure. That 26 was for this encounter, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also knowing of the Dwaga history.
Yeah, and so we'll roll that into the same query. Dwaga are very business-like. They're a cruel society. Their economy is built off slavery and conquest, and getting blood from a stone. They will squeeze you for everything you've got, and then they'll keep squeezing. and if there's nothing but bones left, they'll grind up the bones and make their bread. They're cruelly inefficient, but they're not cruel for its own sake, say the way the drow are. They're not alien the way the mind flayers are. They're deeply predictable. In fact, they have no time for art, but they highly value craftsmanship and industry and technology. Are very cold people, but they're only mean because it's an efficient way of eking out a society in a place like this, is to whip harder and more often when you're not getting what you need from your quota.
All right, let's go. So
If
this is our
they-
story. We're a scouting party, and we're going to tell them that we're looking for setting up business relationships and seeing where these mines end, in case we need to protect against them and escape through them and see what comes out of them. And we'll pay for their expertise. And we are representatives of the Zentharum.
If they do value craftsmanship as well, I can offer to craft something for their commander. And from his history check, would he know if they know of the clan crafters and if they somewhat respect them?
Do you want to make yourself
yeah.
a slave?
Sorry.
Do you want to make himself a slave?
You can make a history
Would
check.
Would Flightless's history check cover it?
Not the clan crafters. That's a pretty obscure detail, but the short answer would be you would assume so, because they're into craftsmanship and they are a clan. So on that rationale alone. As for your own knowledge, since this is really your series of point of expertise, the Dwarga, the Dwarga were probably eliminated from the dwarven clans, I think, by the time the clan's craftsmen were along. They got abducted a long time ago and were taken into the Underdark and were enslaved by the Mind Flayers, and they spent a long time down there. And that was a long time ago. And so, even if the Dwarga weren't enslaved by the Mind Flayers back in those ancient days, they were at least an isolationist clan deep within the Underdark, so they probably had very little to do with other aspects of the culture. But they are one of the 8 clans. There were 8 dwarven clans, and the Dwarga are one of them. So that is at least undeniable. You have the same origin. Just not even back then in ancient history, you didn't have the same culture. So yeah,
So we good for this?
Yeah.
Right, let's look like we are not menacing, and we're here on a purpose, and we belong here.
Although I do wonder. I do
Go ahead.
wonder how they'll take to seeing one of their surface kin. I worry that your presence might offend them somehow.
We're brothers. Zentharum, we're brothers through commerce.
Well, perhaps you're right.
I can send my servant to announce our arrival, announcing us as emissaries of the Zentharum with one of my blocks. I can have him fly to someone who looks like they're in leadership and tap on it and say emissaries of the Zentharum have arrived and seek counsel.
Might be worth a try, as the
There you go.
as the sign indicated when we first went down this tunnel. They seem inclined to shoot on sight. We may not even be able to get a word out before bolts come flying at us.
It's a good idea.
Are you going to don that black gauntlet mode?
Sure.
then I'll send my servant ahead with one of my voice blocks with my message, and send them to try to find someone who appears to be in leadership.
All right. All right. There comes some snapping and some barking from within there. We can't see what's going on, but we can hear, and some grinding of chains and some calling out in dwarven. But it comes under control within a minute or two, and it calms back down again. And your homunculus is sent back with an invitation, a message to come and meet with a trade delegation.
Right, what do we got to trade with?
All manner of things.
What
We've,
would the Zentarum send? You gotta think. We won't want to be too generous.
No, it'd be a.
Would the Zentarum be that generous, is what I'm saying? We want to look like we are them.
I would say 50 pounds of adamantine because, one, they can't say that we have more than what we bring, and two, they just took the mines of Tethiamar, which is known for adamantine mining.
Bear in mind that 50 pounds of adamantine is essentially giving them 75,000 gold.
That's
I
enough
think
for
they'd take kindly to
securing a
that.
route. Securing a route. I don't think that's bad. That's a good start for securing a route.
Considering it's adamantine mythal, we could just be selling information to them that trade from like Tethiamar will be
This is
opening
just
up soon.
This is just the start.
So the information itself is worth something.
Yep.
We can try that, and then if they ask for a token, we can offer some.
Yes, perhaps the information and a token offering, like perhaps a ruby or one of these diamonds.
I'd say like
And
maybe
then
take like half a pound out, put it in a different bag, put the bags of holding somewhere different. Then we can say this is the quality that we're dealing with.
True.
Do you want me to show a sample of both adamantine and mithril?
There you go.
So a pound of each.
Or 10.
I think
A bit less.
the less
That's
the better.
roughly two.
Because I think
Roughly 2,000 gold, just
Yeah.
to a pound of each.
Yeah, just try to make it play it out. It's like, yeah, this is just a sample of like what we have.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so a pound of each. I'll withdraw from the bags and kind of hide the bags in the back of my cloak. Have those ready to show then.
These are going to be given as a token of goodwill, and to begin trade and our collective best interest.
I'm also going to make my clan and crafter symbol visible just in case. We can offer any help.
Well then, let's accept this invitation.
All right, let's head over.
While you negotiate, I'll keep my eyes peeled for any sign of betrayal.
Good idea.
All right. So we've sent the messenger up. They've come back with an invitation, a verbal one. What's our next step?
So we go back. I mean, we walk like a party.
Yeah.
Like,
And you yep. And you find the path illuminated in front of you, so that you are walking into the light. There's a bunch of lamps that have been set up so that you'll be visible and somewhat blinded as well. And as your eyes adjust to the dark vision, you'll see that there is a small call them a legion, but a small unit of Dwaga soldiers, iron armor, halberds, crossbows, shields, and so on. Little block of maybe 16 soldiers is making up an infantry unit. There's a couple of cavaliers nearby in the form of spider riders and scorpion riders. There's presumably some archers beyond them, though in the darkness you can't see them, and no doubt they've got fortifications built into the walls as well. So this is a death trap. Greetings, says our representative, who doesn't appear to be dressed much more fancifully than any of the others. He is at least clean, so there is that, but he is armoured the same, and his armour is shiny, so maybe that's what sets him apart from the workers and the soldiers.
Greetings.
Welcome.
How goes the mining?
Everything is good. We have been extracting great amount of amethyst and opals and emeralds of late. My superior has asked me to invite you into the negotiation tents. He will be in there shortly.
Very good.
Will you be having a representative delegate, or is your entire entourage necessary?
Myself and the machine will be coming in to speak.
Yes, very good, very good. Right this way. And they gesture towards a tent, which is as well illuminated by oil lamps. There are a couple of Roth that are being pushed away from nearby, and in the shadowy darkness, you can just make out some Scorpion riders with their firearms. They use a few crossbows here, but they've also got a surprisingly large number of guns, since they are the pioneers of firearm technology. And so as for the rest of you, are you just going to linger near this great big block of armored dwarves, or do you have some other plan?
I suppose just I guess stand near the tent, but not in it.
Yeah, all right. If you stand near the tent, then you will see that a circle of guns and crossbows and spears encircle the tent. They don't have an unlimited supply of soldiers here, and to be honest, maybe you could take them all. There's only 20 or 25 or so on, not including the cavalry. But in turn, we could take 25 Dwaga, I reckon. But all the same, they have surrounded this tent with their crossbows and spears and so on. Their guns. So it's a large tent. It would easily be able to fit 10 people in there, and there'd still be room to move.
Are they actively aiming their weapons at us?
Not actively aiming their weapons at you, but they do have knocked crossbows and loaded guns and lowered halberds and so on. So yeah, they're combat ready. They're not on guard. They're
businessmen. They need to hear what we have to say first. We're gonna make them an offer. So we go in to the tent.
You go in, and there's a little bit of incense burning within there, but apart from that, it's very Spartan. It's spacious. A couple of stout stools, a very broad table, a small bench that would probably be suitable for making lunch on, although there's the knives are way out of reach for your average Dwaga, though a human could probably pick them up pretty easily. And just a very simple little table with some incense burning, and forms. There's a folder, and within these folder are forms, and the forms are apparently trade details, specifications, minutiae like a legal document. And essentially it basically wants you to fill out a few details like the name of your delegation, why you're here, why you are arriving unannounced, why there hasn't been a meeting established. It's a questionnaire of everything that you've done wrong because you didn't follow the protocol.
We need the scribe. Flightless.
They allow you to get the scribe.
He'll follow you in.
There's a great opportunity for he comes with his own quill joke, but the Dwerga don't make it. They don't do jokes.
There you go. Funny.
No.
Sound official, like. Whisper to him.
He looks at you confused, like he needs official sounding like voice lines for that to work.
Read the papers. And fill them out. And tell them why we're here. And be official, like.
Are they in Dwarven or are they in Common?
They're in Dwarven and in Common.
I guess I'll read it then.
Make an investigation check to interpret it.
Okay.
Or insight if you prefer. Either are fine.
Can I use guidance?
Oh, it's going to take you longer than a minute, so probably
Okay, fair
not.
enough.
No. Yeah.
Insight would be the one then.
I can flex you with
Alright,
a flash of genius if necessary. Oh, never mind.
19.
That's so you learn quite a lot from these deals or this transaction, because the Dwarga have basically given you all the old files in addition to new ones. So it tells you previous deals that they've been making, and there hasn't been a lot. But they have already established trade relations, and the Zentarum haven't been sending iron or anything here. They've been sending food and incense, and wine, opium as well, silks and furs, and if it's valuable on the surface, and it's only found on the surface, it's probably even more valuable in the Underdark, and they're paying a fortune in gems. They are paying an absolute fortune. Like, let's say you've got 25 gold piece. You've got a fox fur that would fetch 25 gold pieces on the surface. Down here, they'll give you 250 gold pieces worth of amethysts for your fox fur. They're paying huge amounts. And there's a few regular dealers that have come from the Zentarum, but they haven't arrived in years. They call them regular, but there hasn't been one for 2 years.
I imagine they might enjoy the prospect of having adamantine to mine. Those gemstones, which are probably hard to get out of stone.
There you go. We could send some miners. Dwarven miners could be needed. Tathimir.
So the questionnaire wants you to fill out, what are you selling? What's your offer? Those sort of guidelines.
Tell them it's top secret. So, hey, Sue, on this,
Well,
this has to be top secret. We need to talk to them.
What we're selling is information.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't put it in writing. We need to talk to their bosses first.
They're not going to like that.
Well, they're going to love it.
I mean,
Well,
I think-
in writing.
I think we should put in writing that we're offering a trade agreement or offers of trade from the conquests of Tethiamar and the future that it holds.
There you go. Do you think we should talk in first?
To just put vaguely information concerning Tethiamar.
The mines of Tethiamar have been open, and this is to negotiate the trade deals.
And also to establish a emergency route for escape to the surface if necessary.
Mutual defense. Mutual defense.
We just say information until we agree that information for passage, and then we give them the information, and then they've given their word, so we'll get our passage.
Well, we don't want to. Yeah, just say the mines of Tethiamar have been opened.
He'll just say we're trading information concerning Tethiamar.
Yes, there you go. There you go. That's good.
Yeah. I just got a great idea, but can't really communicate it because I'm outside the tent.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Can always message you, but that would probably be metagaming.
Yeah, it would be meta. I'll just have to accept that I've missed my opportunity.
Oh, well, have to tell us after the opportunity's passing.
Yeah, although it might still come to pass regardless. We'll see how the negotiations go.
You can always do a hem, and I can cue into it.
So delegation, that's you guys. Who are you? That's what the paperwork wants to know. Who are you?
We'll do
Tediamar?
Tediamar delegation.
Who do you represent?
The
The
Zentarum?
Zentarum.
What do you bring to the table?
Information and possible
Well,
trade.
no, absolutely. Trade, work for dwarven miners.
What are your demands?
A safe passage through your lands.
It's a passage to continue our investigations of the rest of the tunnel.
Why haven't you used official channels to make an appointment?
Because
We
we
were
just
sent
opened the
as soon
mines.
as the conquest. As soon as the conquest succeeded, we were sent to explore possible escape routes necessary. And happened
We're
upon
here,
us.
and you could tell that if the mines have been taken, that there'll be armies trying to take it back, and we need friends.
Yeah, and since there was past relations, we can say that we knew that this was nearby.
Do you have any religious allegiances?
Bane, I guess.
Do you have any magicians?
It's a coin. Do we have any magicians?
I think all half-casters, right?
Where are you, clerics? Clerics aren't magicians.
I guess I'll ask him to
And
define magician.
Yeah.
Paperwork gives a 3-page definition of a magician.
Okay, so I guess it's incredibly
Zero.
finicky. So would that be anyone who could cast a spell or just wizard?
If you cast spells, that's right. If you cast
That'd be
spells.
most people in the party.
Limited to, but not including psionics.
Everyone but Morg.
All right, so you've got to register your magicians as well, and you've officially registered your religion. Are you wanted in any countries within the Underdark or on the surface? City states.
Only for people that aren't friends.
Only the opposition of the Zentarum.
Yeah, you feel this when the guy gets the forms and he looks at your answers there and he's like, no, that's not how you answer that question. That's not that.
Polite answer, no one is fun to me.
Like, yes or no, and you've left this field. He's like, no, that's not right. Anyway, so there's a bunch of further questions, and you do your best to deceive the paperwork. I guess that's going to be a Kenku deception with advantage, since we're able to. Yeah, forgery is good. Yep, we're able to work on it together, and like being in an exam together.
Will guidance go on to this check?
Took longer than a minute.
Yeah, it'll
Okay.
take longer than a minute. Yeah.
20.
All right, cool. So you rig up something that looks official, and you sign it away. What do you use your real signatures?
No,
Sure. Why not?
because we don't want the paperwork to follow us.
They know who you are.
Yeah, we still not.
You're
we're
still
faking
official.
it.
You're still official. You're still official Zentarum agents, are you not?
Yeah, and he's still faking it.
All right. So one fake name, one real name.
Yeah.
Are we all signing this document, or just the people inside the tent?
Just the delegates, yeah.
Ready?
But they've registered you as majors, so you're now officially like their responsibility. It's like having a guest at a party. Yeah, really, they do reflects on you now. All right, so the paperwork is taken away, and you're forced to wait within the tent for a bit longer. And refreshments aren't provided except for a bit of ale and some bread, and that's all that you're really given. And to call it bread is not actually true. It's more like a bread crust, the really hard part. That's like eating croutons. Yeah, scratches the hell out of your mouth. Croutons and water. Um, and you're made to wait there for a considerable amount of time, more than an hour. Does everyone just accept this?
Yeah.
I guess Flightless will take a small amount of ale and bread out and share it with the two people outside, and take the opportunity to try to see if the work outside are trying to make moves on the tent, to see where they're like enclosing it or anything like that.
Yeah, good question, and good query. And they kind of are. They've surrounded the tent, but it's a pretty big tent, and so they're not shoulder to shoulder, but they have surrounded the tent. But they don't fire upon you. They point their crossbows and guns at you. They don't fire upon you, and they seem to give you the passage to go past. They're not trying to stop you. They're just. It's like being under arrest and you're the lawyer or something, and you can just come
it's
and
sort of
go.
more like a standoff rather than they're setting up an ambush at the moment. Then.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very loose standoff since they stand aside. You know, they're just an armed. It's a lot more hostility than that is polite. But they haven't shot anyone yet.
They are a worker after all.
Yeah, so they're just very wary of us, and they're making no attempt to hide it.
That's
gonna
right.
start-
Yeah.
I pop my head out and I look around, and I
The
say,
air is no fresh around here. Sorry.
I'm like, how long are we supposed to wait?
Until all of the forms have been processed.
Bureaucracy.
I got no time for this. We've got time is of
Then-
the essence.
You can turn back and go back the way that you have come.
That wouldn't be in your profit or part of my mission either. So it's wise if you hurry up.
Would you like to put in a complaint?
And wait 3 to 5 business days for that to be processed.
Where's the complaint department?
He points towards the barrel of his gun.
And I tip the tip of my hammer. I got some complaining too.
Just wait, or go back the way you have come.
Because he just like writes it down on a scroll, goes up and like,
Is he the boss? Is he the boss of this thing?
He's maybe a sergeant, maybe.
I want to try to message Moog, be like, hey, buddy,
Hey.
calm down.
But you see, when you're not forceful, and the Underdark is a form of you're weak. So that's the concept is you got to be like, hey, you can only accept insolence in this when you're got the higher hand so much, or you can't be perceived as weak, else they'll take it over. So
Mm.
say, so I go back in and I say, give me a piece of the mithril.
I give him the pound that I had set aside.
And I walk out with it in my hand and I say, Sergeant, if whatever his thing is, I want to be dealing with your boss. And if you don't, the profits will be your head, for I'm sure you'll be crying for the loss of the deals that you might have had with the mines of Tediamar. I have no time for this bullshit. You stupid paperwork.
You
I
come
wipe
and
my
weigh,
ass.
you weigh silver in front of me and expect me to jump? Where are all your trade goods?
Are you a miner? This is not Silver Boy. And I throw him the chunk.
He catches it and it's as light as aluminium. and he is more strong than steel, and he is taken back by it.
What do you think they mine silver in the mines of Teliamar? We're
Wait
talking
here.
about real business.
Watch him. Do not let the trade delegation leave. Just wait a little bit longer. And without another word, he marches off towards one of the tunnels, still carrying the mithril that you threw him.
That's fine.
Also, can I ask him to wait and also produce the adamantine?
No, just that's enough right now, man.
Okay.
You say to him, wait, and he doesn't, and Mo says, don't play all your aces too early.
Okay.
The flight assistant
I'll
is
let him
pretty
go.
upset that you gave them anything at all before we started negotiating properly.
Well, you got to give them a taste of the honey so they can walk towards the hive.
It may have hurried things up because it's 15 or 20 minutes later when the delegate at last walks in. He wears full plate. The full plate is a little bit dirtier than the guy that you've spoken to, a little bit more worn, a few more dents and scratches. But the man that sits before you takes off his helmet and puts it to one side. There is mostly grey within his beard, and most of the hair on his head has fallen out. And he says, "Greetings, I am Dalgrom Hathrom, and you have produced this?" Brings back the mithril.
A gift from the mines of Teliamar.
A gift.
And to
Wow.
show what trade with us can prosper.
A splendid gift indeed. I am honored by your magnanimous attitude.
Well, it ain't be coming without a cost.
Very well. Why are you here? Your paperwork was very light on detail.
Light on detail. The mines just fell. You think we're going to be broadcasting in paperwork our plans to take over the mines? Listen here. We're scouting the routes. This might happen to be on our path. This is the only way in to the mines. So I think we need to be developing a friendship between you and us. What say ye?
Very well. We are in great need of products from the surface, but this product is something that we cannot get from anywhere else. We would be interested in trading with you our amethyst, our opals, and our emeralds to obtain more of these minerals.
Aye, and we'll be needing some miners as well. The mines of Tedium are as legend, and there's much work to be done.
Very
An
well.
investment.
How do you feel about orcs? Many of them born into servitude, which makes them much easier to control.
We have used them in the past, so I believe they will be sufficient.
Well, if you have used them in the past, I will not need to explain to you the difficulties of training them and of keeping watch over them. I am sure you are experienced enough. Very good then. How many orcs would you need?
At least 6.
Oh, 6 is easy. I was
I'm
thinking a
talking-
larger contingent.
We're going to need hundreds. The mines are vast, and there's more work than a dwarf can do in multiple lifetimes.
Well, is it 6 or is it hundreds?
It's hundreds. We don't want to. We have not come to negotiate numbers at this time. This is more of a warning that these things have happened, and formal delegates will be coming behind us.
A warning. You would come to me and give me a warning.
A warning
I hope
that
that
change is changing. An update. It's not a warning. This is. Would you like not to be knowing what's happening?
I am understanding. This
We need
is
your friendship, and then we need to be doing some recon to see who might be coming up against us. Once the word comes, the mines have fallen. Lots will be coming. So there's much work to repurpose the mines. They've been left unattended for hundreds of years.
I am interested in trade, but I am not your friend, Bay Knight. I have no interest in your religion and your plans for expansion. No, we will keep our relationship strictly business.
So what other way is there?
We have also come to establish a route to the surface should the mines of Tediamon need it. And we have also been sent to scout for that very reason. We knew that this establishment was close to the mines and figured that the Underdark could lead us here, which of course it did. Would you be able to provide information on pathing to the surface in case it's needed?
Yes, there are many routes to the surface from here. It is not so far. Where would you like to emerge?
That is a good question.
What is the most likely for a dwarven army from the surface to be heading down here? We need to be reconning those passages.
If you emerge in the Desert Mouse Mountains, you will find many valleys. You will be able to live there without anyone knowing, unless a dragon flies overhead. If you emerge within the dales, you will find homesteads and farms very soon after you reach the surface. They are everywhere, every mile or so, there is more population. And if you go too far west, then you will enter into the lands beneath the desert that they call the buried realms. And you will leave the deep waste where we are behind, and you will be in an entirely different world. If you see a wall of purple fire, you must turn back.
I believe the Dales would be the most likely to. The point in the Dales would be the most likely to attack from, so that would maybe the best to scout forward.
Well, our defenses. On another note, there's some dark creatures down here from the underworld. We hear a witch. She'd be talking about a skull castle. You'd be knowing this place.
Yeah, on the edge of the pale water, there is a fortress that has been manned by armies of the dead for centuries or longer. It has stood watch over Sith Aranea, the Drow colony, but it has been many centuries since it was the property of the Drow.
Would this dead army be up for negotiations?
Why, they are dead.
The powers that be them are alive. And the power always wants profit, does it not? You never know who could be a friend down here.
The dead are disrupting trade. It is known. Zombies and ogres and creeping and crawling things all through the passages, and they are getting in the way of profits. I do not think that the dead are friends to commerce.
We met quite a few of your friends, your undead friends on the way here. I can see what you're saying.
My undead friend.
It's a joke.
I have no undead friends. I know that on the surface then you will befriend anyone. You do not care about values up there. You only want to be popular.
I only want to make profits, cousin. I'm not too different than yourself.
Cousin. You call me cousin. You whose clan spurned mine. You who betrayed the ancient trust of our brothers. You call me cousin.
And now I call you partner. And let's be done with this. The past is the past. And if you want to be seeing any more of this, we need to be setting up a partnership.
Very well. Opals, amethysts, and emeralds are what we mine here. They are what we have to trade.
And people and slaves. And dwarven labor.
Labor is harder, but we will find something. If you will settle for orcs and goblins, then we can get orcs and goblins.
And we might need some
Skilled labor is
crafted
harder.
miners. That's fine. As you can see, the mines of Tedium are rich and they can pay. I'm sure the stonecutters will welcome the good work.
Yes, your discovery will excite many people.
Then it's a deal then.
Yes, a deal. And now our business is concluded.
And with relations concluded, I would also like to extend the second part of the trade agreement, which would be the production of adamantine.
Dude,
What's up?
we won. Why would you put anything else down? It's over.
It's just the agreement that some place we don't own will give them more in the future.
Right. Well, then fine.
Mhm. Okay.
We'll figure it out. So we're good now. We'll be passing back as we head back to the mines, and we'll send other delegates here to finalize all the details. And we leave you with these goods as a token of the beginning of a prosperous business relationship.
In exchange, they sign a script and they give you a copy, and this is your license to travel through the Halstrom lands.
Can they also provide a map to the Dale opening?
Only in theory, like a mud map. It's not reliable. Just follow here, and when you get to that tunnel here, and yeah, it'd be kind of like following a river map, more than a road map. So they draw you one up, but it's not reliable.
Would a
Under dark
guide
baptism.
be able to come with us?
A guide. They don't have one here. But they tell you to look out for the Zoltek family. Wouldn't trust them as far as I can throw them, but they do specialize in caravans and exploration and training giant scorpions and giant spiders and so on. Like those spiders and scorpions you see out there, they're all Zoltek bred. So ultimately, these guys don't have up-to-date maps or anything. But if you find a Zoltek, then they might be able to help you out.
Are they on the way?
They're out there somewhere. Yeah, they show where on the mud map the Zolteks are, and they're up ahead somewhere.
Okay. We could take our leave then, if we have no further business here.
All right. We've now been traveling for about 6 hours. Traveling and, I suppose, resting a little bit as well for about 6 hours. That was Eleanor's roll. Carrick, a flightless, a D70, please. The D12 first, the D12. Yeah, cool. 7 hours. Morg, a D12, please. All right. A D70 3 times, please.
A D what?
Roll 1D70, but then do it 3 times.
How do I do that?
/R space 1d70. Then just press up twice. There you go. Press up. That's it. Do it again. 52, 19, 34. Very good, very good, very good. Let's check this out. Okay. Okay. 34. All right. Okay. All right, the environment is getting hotter. We've been pointed in the direction towards Dagger Falls, and we've got our little mud map that might head at particular important junctions, follow this waterfall, or go down this chasm, or so on. It's hopefully something that we can piece together as we go deeper, but there's no doubt that the environment is getting hotter, that the air is getting more stale, more putrid, and there's phase rest, clumps of phase rest are pretty common, which means that every 1 out of 10 minutes is illuminated. We're going through a small area where little glowing lights just hang in the sky for no reason, and then we pass on by this field of light that is maybe 100 feet in diameter, and then walk through another 1,000 feet of darkness before coming across another one of these patches of phase rest. And wherever the phase rest accumulates, fungi and lichens and other strange creatures seem to grow, and small animals like bats and snakes and toads clump in these small fungal gardens. But the place is getting hotter and the air is getting more foul. Do we care?
Is it like sulfury?
Mm-hmm.
Is it time to
It's
do a
sulfury.
So we've been doing a rest and making camp.
No, not yet. We've only been here for like 7 hours.
I would be loath to camp here where the air is so foul and breathe it for extended periods of time.
Aye. Then we continue.
I think at the end of the start,
Alright.
8 hours of continuous travel, so then we might be start thinking about like finding somewhere safe to rest.
We did have that 1 hour of sitting down though, so it hasn't been totally continuous since we sat down on uncomfortable chairs for an hour. That wasn't much better though. The Dwerga hospitality is pretty grim. All right. Everybody make a perception check.
I believe they're not sending us down.
Okay. We notice tracks. We are walking on footprints that someone else has walked on. I don't know when they started, but we're walking on them now. And you spot bare footprints about the size of, too big to be a gnome, but too small to be a dwarf by far. So yeah, little humanoid footprints, and some giant lizard guano. A great pile of it that's quite fresh. A big lizard shit.
Maybe we found some patch.
Hmm.
Lightless, what you thinking?
Well, out again, we're thinking like maybe Darrow, but like, can I try to identify the tracks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not. Where is it? Guidance with nature?
Yeah, that'll do.
18.
Goblins are really common. And so they could be goblin footprints, but there's a number of other creatures that they might be as well that look like goblins, like kobolds, maybe. Not kobolds, but anyway.
I guess you'll make
Um,
maybe like a goblin saying "I'm a goblin," stuff like that, just to show that stuff it could be.
Yeah, maybe stuff like that. Yeah, but it looks like they have travelled along here quite recently. The lizard scrap is fresh. There is another creature here. In addition to a giant lizard, which we've already detected, and a lot of goblins, which we can see, there's something crawling along the ground with its claws. Crawl, 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 and you can't work out what it is. But if you can imagine what a dragon would look like when a dragon moves on all fours, if it was a wyvern rather, if you can imagine like a two-winged dragon, a wyvern moving on all fours, then that's what this looks like on the ground. But it's too small to be a. It could be a wyvern. It could be a wyvern, I suppose.
Oi.
Does anybody know more folk that keep company with giant monstrosities like these?
hmm.
Hopefully, it's not one of those things that turns you to stone when you look at it.
We've ran into Basilisk before, right? Do the tracks match up with those?
With our roll, they don't seem to be basilisk tracks. No, they look more like a massive gecko tracks.
All right.
I could send my servant to see if he sees anything nearby.
Well, now we know this creature's in our immediate vicinity. It's probably a good idea.
Can I try to tell how old the tracks are?
Yeah, absolutely. Make a survival check or some other. Yeah, that's perfect. Really fresh, like an hour, 2 hours, probably 1 hour. There appear to be maybe 10 goblins, maybe, and a couple of beasts, including this winged one that's crawling along the ground.
Because goblins are like my favourite foe and I'm good at tracking them, could I try to make like a history check to guess what could be accompanying them?
Absolutely. History is good. You're gonna have advantage on that since goblins, yeah, your specialty. Got a doctorate in goblinoid.
Collective genius.
Yep. So what does that do?
+3.
All right, so a 14. 14 is pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. They often ride anything that'll let them. Wolves, but down here a wolf would be pretty useless. Giant lizards, and down here you'd probably ride the ones that can walk up walls, like big geckos. As for a winged creature, no dragon would let itself be ridden by a goblin. And wyverns are really hard to train and dangerous. It could be a bat, a really big mobat.
Hmm.
Okay, so they're probably still close.
They're probably savage goblins, though, living this deep underneath the ground. They're likely as low tech as goblins get. You got no shoes, for one thing.
I can go ahead and send my bird to look around. Because most likely, if they got a gecko thing, it's probably on the wall watching us right now.
Alright, so is that what you're doing? Sending your homunculus ahead?
Yes. Would it be like a perception check or something along those lines?
How far is it going?
I'd send it in a 120-foot radius first.
Nothing to be found in that distance, yeah. This is about an hour old, so Yeah, nothing that close. Close, but not right here.
All right. Then I'd send it a bit deeper, returning, going every few hundred feet.
All right. The air gets hotter as we go deeper and more foul. Where's this? I thought that there was a handout for this, but maybe there isn't one. Might be in a different game. Okay. Maybe there is one. Oh, I'll look a little bit longer. No, there is. Yeah. No, there is too. Yeah, cool. All right. So the air gets hotter. It gets more foul. The phase rest gets more common, and we start to sweat within our armor. It's now pushing 90 degrees in Fahrenheit, or about a bit above 30 degrees in Celsius, and it's been pretty previously cool and tolerable. So it's not rising much, but it is getting noticeably hotter. And as we go deeper, we get more evidence that we are following the goblins. We can see shavings of stone and dropped bones and feces and other signs of passing. When we see that pinned to one of the cave walls, something has been ripped down, and a piece of paper has been scrunched up and cast aside. But it's paper, and paper's not very common in the Underdark, so or even that common on the surface either. It's pretty expensive stuff. So someone's taken some paper, scrunched it up, and cast it to one side.
Hmm.
Good to know what it said.
It's not torn up. It's just scrunched up into a ball.
Well, I'll pick it up and unfurl it.
And it is a wanted poster.
Hmm. Do you happen to recognize this person, Flightless? Yeah, I present him the bounty.
That'd be a history check.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, still on a bit of a guidance.
Yeah.
14.
14 is pretty good. You do know that the Morcane family has a lot of daughters, and they aren't all in the favor of their mother. So the fact that they're hunting for a woman means she's probably someone important.
And I was going to say, it seems they just literally threw the book at her. Like, that's a lot of crimes.
Yeah.
It's either she's incredibly busy, or like, I don't think all of this is quite true.
I think most of them could be like the same thing. Be like one crime that's just getting multiple sentences.
What's sororicide?
I think that's
It's killing a sister.
Hmm.
So it's killing
So
a sister, could
yeah.
be conspiracy, sedition, tradition. I mean, treason.
And infanticide, because it could have been like a young sister. Could just all be one crime.
There's patricide as well, which is killing the father, I think.
Only
Something like
1,000
that.
gold?
Lizzie Borden with an axe gave her mother 40 whacks. Saw what she had done. She gave her father 41. That's an American thing. I don't know if you guys.
Doesn't ring a bell for me.
Yeah, that's a girl from the 1800s that killed her family in the U.S.
Oh.
They made a Lizzie Borden. Made a whole nursery rhyme about her.
Wow.
Lizzie Borden with an axe gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
Well then, I
She's-
guess I'll scrunch the paper back up and pocket it.
That's a
Alright.
pretty drow.
A pretty drow.
A pretty drow.
I would be careful if I were you. The drow use their attractiveness as a weapon, no less.
He's a
than
dwarf. He doesn't
crossbow.
care. She doesn't have a beard. She's not interested. I'm just saying that out of character.
Oh,
So isn't every drow, just saying in general, every drow is guilty of everything on that list, so what's the deal?
probably. Good point.
Alright.
I guess she just didn't play the game. Like, I think in Drow Society, you had to at least be secretive about it.
Yeah.
So as the heat rises and we get deeper, because we're steadily going down now. We're probably 600 feet below the surface instead of 300 feet now. We start to hear creatures coming back towards us. Like there sounds like there's a lot of them. Some of them are screeching at each other, and some of them are yelling at them because they're screeching at each other, and one of them whacks the other, and then the other one screams and whacks another, and stealthy they are not. But this this group of individuals is apparently coming towards us from the direction that we are heading toward.
Hmm. Is it just a narrow passage? Is there any where we
Pretty
can hide?
wide, somewhere between 5 and 15 feet wide. It narrows and widens and narrows and widens. And yeah, you can find like a choke point or something where it opens up to there's a place for stalagmites you might hide behind. Yeah.
Anybody got... Act like you belong here. We might be recruiting a goblin army.
But pretends to mine the wall? What?
They'll do what we say for gold and tell them the lines of Teliamar might be open. They might know what that means. And they could be doing favors for your
Gonna-
vile company.
Do we plan on meeting them here, like setting up an ambush?
No, let's stay out in the open.
I want to skulk into the shadows anyway.
Do as you
Excellent.
must.
I'll start crafting some arrows.
All right. Sounds like they're getting closer, and as the crowd gets closer, they must have sent a runner up ahead, because you hear the pitter-patter of his feet as he comes around the corner and then sees you all there, and then is stopped and is stunned.
Wave at him.
And he tries to get he's
Anybody
not wearing
speak
any.
goblin?
He's completely nude. Like he's got a shield and he's got a spear, but he's completely nude apart from that little satchel that carries a few things within it. He looks at each of you in turn, and you can see his eyes trying to comprehend what he sees, but this is
put my
a bit much
arms-
for him.
I do the arm cross thing. That's the the universal underdark sign of friend or not foe.
Make a performance check. See if he interprets your art successfully.
I was going to say, while he's doing that, I'd like to just come out of the shadows to say hello in Goblin. If he speaks the standard Goblin.
He freaks at the dwarf, but then he holds and waits there while Finnick, this most bizarre creature that he's ever imagined. He's never even heard of what a rabbit is before, so to see a rabbit person, this is his first experience of what rabbits are. Anyway, it tries to comprehend it. Stay back! Stay back! And he falls over himself backwards as he tries to back away from your party.
We mean you no harm. Just passing through.
There's more of us than you!
Yes, but you're not wearing armor and we are.
Oh,
Tell me you want to trade.
Guess yes, and we would like to trade, as my
Ah.
dwarven friend here is saying.
you'll let us past?
Yes, we mean.
Do you know how to
no
get us-
violence.
Tell them we need no information. If they do that, it'd be in
Just
their
translate what
interest.
he says.
I'll go and tell the boss.
Good lad.
He runs off.
Interesting creatures. Can't even make pants.
Just
Hot
Finnick
done.
feel right now with conversing with your favorite enemy and then letting him walk away.
They're only my favourite enemy because I'm good at tracking them. It's not because I hate them.
Hmm.
Nothing against people who don't wear pants.
Yeah.
It's their most hated enemy, orcs, but he spent a lifetime fighting them. But we need to go. The number one mission is get out of here so we can go rally the troops up top and retake the mines. So, breaking all the rules. I'd walk down and get an army of undead to go take those mines.
Guess while we're waiting, I'll just sit on my shield while I wait
Yeah.
for goblins to arrive.
Hmm.
Takes them 10 minutes, and you hear them before they arrive. You hear the screaming of goblin children, babies, like screaming and being stifled and being chastised, and the men chastising the women, and the women snapping back, and the men slapping the women, and there's a minor domestic violence situation is going on with these goblins as they approach, but they eventually do go all quiet when they come into our vicinity. And there's about 12 of them, and a couple of babies, and their boss rides on a giant bat that climbs its way along the floor, dragging itself with its big claws. And he's wearing armor. He's got a big furry hat and a couple of weapons, and it looks pretty spectacular up there on his giant bat. But they're also trailing a lizard behind them. And this lizard is loaded up with barrels and baskets and stuff. But they keep it right at the back of the contingent, and it's only just barely in your view for a moment at all.
Greetings, War Chief.
You speak Goblin?
I tell whoever speaks, just tell them that.
Yeah, just keep translating anything that's said.
Sure. Greetings, mercenary chiefs.
We are very happy to meet your acquaintance today, or at this hour.
Why?
We have just come from the mines of Tediamar, and we are looking to make alliances with our friends in the Underdark.
I've heard of Tediamar.
The mines of Tediamar have been open, and we are the party in representation of those that took it. And we have some jobs that need to be doing.
So what?
So would you... Jobs a keen tribe like yours would be perfect for. Make a fine profit and some fine weapons and shields for your men.
And pants.
And pants. Loincloths.
Work, hey? Don't much like work.
Do you like money? Do you like armor?
Yes, our tribe would get stronger.
Well, we can make your tribe the strongest in the Underdark if you deal with us.
Yes. I'll deal with you.
Excellent.
But you must let us pass.
Of course, we not be the. Where you be going to?
That way.
What's coming from that way? And I point towards.
The way is blocked. We were descending down that way to try to find new paths to the fungal jungles. Old paths have shifted. Last year, everything changed. But now that path leads only to fire, and we cannot pass the fire.
Nor can we. Thank you for the wise words. We've been looking for a way to the top. Do you know how to get to the top?
Yes, the ways are changing, but we still know some ways.
What would you like to? How could we get you to help us get to the top?
Give me your hammer.
This hammer's not for sale, but I will give you some other things that would be just as fine. This is my family hammer. And you know how dwarves are about family.
I would give you my family for that hammer.
But the things I could give you are much more valuable than this hammer. For we have the finest smith in all the world right here, and he could craft the greatest weapon for you.
A weapon for me? Yes. Yes. But you would have to provide for my family.
How would we be doing that?
All we've had is blue bread and salted fish for so long. Maybe we could have some of your slaves when they drop dead.
Of course, but we have no slaves here.
Have you roast?
We do, at the mines. And if you'd like to come to the mines can make you the best armor you have ever seen. You'd be the most powerful goblin in the Underdark if you become partners with us.
Have you wine?
Have we wine? I look around. You guys have it?
I don't have it.
No.
What was it?
Wine?
Oh, no. I said I should make get a proficiency in brewer's tools.
Well, what about this as our payment for your help in guiding us to the surface? I'll unbuckle and remove my longsword that has been around my hip, which in the hands of a goblin must be more like a great sword.
Oh, wow! This is just what I want. Yes. Twitches like a rabbit.
I'll present it to him and say, if this is adequate as payment, then I would have you guide us to the surface.
We will travel with you, and you'll take us to the top.
Yes, I shall. Then let us back away, for that way it cannot be passed. The fire boils up from the earth there.
Very well.
So we start backtracking, and the goblins do as well. We have a party of 12 goblins plus 2 infants, a giant lizard which is loaded up with salt, and a giant bat which is our aerial cavalry. We have an aerial cavalry unit.
We're rolling stacked.
Yeah.
With the nannies. The goblin kindercare unit.
Exactly.
As we make our way, can we have Carrick adjust the mud map so it can be used in the future?
Sure, you put giant lava river right here. So, that's good to know.
Along with like the path that we take, just so we can make our way back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when it'll be more useful is following it back rather than the first time. All right, Finnick. The goblins give us options. They know of different ways to the surface. They know of 3 different ways, but they each have their own problems. Roll a d70 3 times. 43. Okay, so they know a way that'll take us to the surface, but we have to go through a place where um, mm, strange things sometimes happen. Like you might start walking on the roof, or flashing lights, or you might get suddenly dazed and confused and lose your way. So that's one of the paths. Another path leads through the Obsidian Plains, which is just an area where black glass covers the caverns, and it would. It's basically there's no way past it because the whole thing is covered in glass. But it's a great source of glass. They goblins recommend if you ever want glass, go to the Obsidian Plain. You'll never run out.
Oh, so it's not really a way out?
Well, like as long as you can get over the glass in its hand, like if you can climb along the roof, for example, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the floor. But so they could fly over it, or they could take their pack lizard. They could get over it if they want. But you guys are pretty useless compared to us. And the other way is the longest, but they know of no particular dangers that are within that direction.
Let's do that one.
That one or the crazy cave.
I want no magic.
Yeah, seems like the most logical option.
Considering we have literal children in the party, it might not be too good on our hands if they end up dying in the wild magic area.
Yeah.
But remember, it's still the Underdark, so not dangerous is still relative.
True. No known dangers, but it could still be dangers.
Crazy magic.
All right, option 3 sounds like the best one.
Option 3 then.
All right.
Do we have a way to sustain ourselves during this long way? Because we still need food.
I have
Yeah,
some rations
what
on
do we
me still.
Do you?
Yeah.
Cool.
Rangers. Good berries.
I don't have good berries spell.
Good God.
Do have wild cunning though. You can locate food and water.
All right. Do you use that?
If there's a need for food, then I can cast that.
Yeah, and you'll find that the place is actually teeming with food. There are a lot of mushrooms that can be ground up and made into bread, though it tastes awful, but it's possible. There's certainly a lot of fish in every stream. There's mollusks and crabs and snails. No shortage of snails. So it's hardly a banquet, and it might not be what you're used to eating, but as long as you eat eels and snails and worms and roots and fungi and lichen, then there's no shortage of food down here,
Delicious.
right? And
Yum.
speaking of worms, let's work out what books we're carrying. Both magical and non-magical books, scrolls, anything that might be made of paper or papyrus or parchment.
Oh dear. Okay, let's see.
I have a map.
Maps are included. Yeah.
There's my book that I keep in my bag of holding.
Yeah, the bag of holding should be safe.
Is it just paper stuff? Because I've got a set of cards, if that counts.
Yeah, paper. If it's their cardboard, they would be targeted. And so take each of those items that you have, and if it's non-magical, like a deck of cards or a copy of Death Pussy, roll a d4, and on a 1, it's been eaten by bookworms. If it's magical, including a spell book, roll a d12, and on a 1, it's been eaten by bookworms.
I've got
Ah.
seven
Rip
things
my
made
gaming
of paper.
cards.
Rip the cards.
6 magical things made of paper and 1 non-magical thing made of paper.
I've got a load of
Alright.
things made of paper. What's the map guy shop called?
Yeah, Bright Blade.
Right blade.
Yeah, Bright
Yeah, 'cause
Blade
you
in
can find
Dagger
his
Hills,
shop.
in Dagger Falls.
Yeah, we got a bunch of maps.
So yeah, when you open up your deck of cards, or you go to just shuffle them around for some reason, or just to break the monotony, maybe it's when we're about to set up a camp. But you open up your deck of cards, and it's this crawling with worms, and you look in there, and these fat grubs have devoured your pack and are crawling around through your backpack.
Ooh, a light snack. I guess I'll just start eating them.
You eat them, and it's like biting into an octopus's ink sac. Your ink squirts all over your teeth and into your mouth, and it tastes like your quill just exploded in your mouth. The ink is it stains as well. It is ink.
Tasty.
Tasty.
Adds that extra spice.
I
It
just
is.
lost 2 scrolls of cure wounds and a scroll of lesser restoration.
Goodness gracious! Look at those rolls. That's amazing.
Well, that sucks. Because
The bookworms are
squishing
fat.
the worms.
All right, squish, and if you squish them, their ink goes in all directions and stains your boots and clothing and sacks and whatever. It's very dark.
Yucky.
Can I try to collect some of the ink?
Absolutely, but you probably do it before they get squashed, because once they're squashed, it's pretty hard to collect it.
Yeah, imagine I
Yeah.
might squash 1 or 2, and then Artisan points out that he'd like the ink, and so I'll hand over the rest to him.
All right,
And just
Artisan
crush
roll.
them up in my mortar and pestle.
Cool. Roll 3d4.
So what's the thing? What's the piece of paper you have when you own like a building or something called? The deed.
Title deed, yeah. So
Don't
you
lose the
managed to-
deed.
Yeah, don't lose the deeds. That's a bad one to lose. That one.
I assume there'll be
Cost you
copies of the
10,000.
deeds like in the, but it's useful to. Okay, so it's 1d4 for each item. Right?
Sometimes. Yeah, 1d4 for each. Yeah.
So there's a list of items I have.
Very good. That's a lot.
Let's roll that amount and put them one by one down the list.
1 by 1. Yeah, that's right. 1 by 1.
Twelve d4.
Okay.
Only 1.
Only 1. Yeah.
The map of
And that would
Mythical.
be...
Hilarious.
There's a lot of those lying around.
So I guess like his like very like procedural way to pack his stuff has kept the worms out mostly.
Certainly
Yeah.
has. That's really good. And so you managed to gather only, is it 4 worms on that? Yeah, only 4 worms. And you crush them up, and their ink is very valuable. It's a good substitute for just about anything when you're writing scrolls and spells in your spell book. So each bookworm holds 50 gold pieces worth of ink, and you collected 4 times 50.
the irony that bookworm ink can be used to write in a spell book.
It's the circle of life. All right. Okay. So we travel along for a few more hours, and we come to the point where we're not sure when we're supposed to take a rest. Just you've lost track of time. You've had interruptions. The going is easier now than it has been before. You're no longer climbing and scrambling. It's relatively straight and narrow. You found some old dwarven road. It's not the dwarven highway, but it is a dwarven road of sorts, and it's like going from natural cave system to natural cave system, being linked by drill mining sites that the dwarves tunnels, yeah, that the dwarves have constructed centuries ago. At what point do we stop, and what sort of camp do we make?
I think we should ask the chief where he thinks the best place to make camp is.
I think we should do it near water. Yeah, the goblins agree. The chief is wise. He has a big sword.
Yeah.
Can we? Can I do an insight on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Goblin is just very lucky.
All
I'll slap
right.
my last Flash of Genius on there to make it 15.
Absolutely. And so it seems like the goblin just doesn't really know where to camp, so somewhere with water seems as good as anywhere else. And the goblins don't seem to really respect him, but he's on a high right now, so they're going to ride his coattails for as long as it lasts.
All right.
All right. So we find somewhere, and we've got our little goblins camped, and they have their baths and cook in the same water that they piss in, and it's just generally pretty foul. And the lack of civilization is astounding. It's really like watching monkeys. More than civilization. But they speak in their own hideous, hard to understand language, mostly screaming. They use physical violence as a tool of communication very regularly. The bigger ones doling it out to the ones that are smaller. And as a result, it's not the most pleasing of hotel guests in the Underdark Inn. Anyone ask them for cooking tips or baby raising advice or anything? All right.
So I
So-
guess we just set up camp to make a long rest and
Yeah.
and make it secure so we don't get our throats cut by goblins in the middle of the night. And
Well, I think I'll just stay awake all night and take the level of exhaustion for a couple of
Excellent.
reasons. Firstly, because I don't trust goblin companions to not A, steal our stuff, or B, to cut our throats.
Ooh.
And also because of all the revelations that I've learned from that prophet. It's going to be weighing heavily on my mind.
I'd like to walk over to the lizard and cast Speak with Animals.
Yeah.
Just talk to the lizard.
Yeah, Liz is pretty interesting. He's seen some shit. Like he's been some places. This lizard. He's got a lizard girlfriend in all of those places.
So, Mr. Lizard, are these goblins generally trustworthy even though they don't wear pants?
They stick together, but they hate each other. They fight a lot, but I don't let any of them ride me, so I at least have that dignity.
I mean, are they likely to kill me in my sleep?
Oh, they're terrified of you. Oh no, they're far too afraid. They're far too afraid. They were just going to hope that they thought you were going to kill them all, And then it looked like you were going to make them walk past, but you've convinced the leader to do something. I don't really understand, but they're not reliable.
I'm not too sure what the purpose of these goblins are either. I guess with that, I set up my where I'm sleeping next to where the lizard is.
Yeah, you can
But
sleep with me. We'll be mates tonight.
goblins are to get us to the surface.
Just more breaks in the lizard.
No. I'm just saying. That's the purpose.
I'm going to have my. Oh, go ahead.
Good. I was saying because
Oh.
I'm staying awake, I'll find a nice place to sit and just somewhere where I can keep watch over the sleeping party.
Yeah, well, I haven't described the environment that I led you to yet, but it's pretty interesting. So they've led you to the shores of a lake, or maybe something bigger than a lake. But there's this great big still water that extends as far as any of your dark vision can see, and you emerge from a rocky cave that has a pebbly beach that leads to this cold, but not cool but not cold river. It's probably about the same temperature as a lake in a summer's day on the surface. So it's pretty warm, all in all. It's not as cold as it looks like it might be. And little crabs and snails crawl around in this little pebbly beach. There's a lot of moss and a lot of lichen that gathers at the edge of it, and tiny little fish sometimes come up towards the edge. But then you hear a bubble, or there's this great splash, and a single wave comes, followed by hundreds of ripples, and then they don't stop for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. The rippling effect just keeps going until finally, at last, the great big lake is still again. But even though it's dark out there, and even though your dark vision is quite limited, you can still see far, far, far out into the distance because of illumination. Every now and then, a little patch of glowing light, probably phase rest, shines down from the roof above this cavern, this underdark lake or sea, and the whole thing is roofed with tiny little night lights every few 100 feet or so. And those night lights, while they are generating light themselves, they scintillate when they touch crystals that are built into the roof or have grown into the roof. And the light hits the crystals and keeps scattering it further, making the entire thing an eerie and dazzling light show that extends as far as the eye can see.
Oddly beautiful.
Could this be the Pale Lake?
Skull Castle. Ask the chief if he knows where the Skull Castle is.
He doesn't know. You mean the Stockhold?
Where the undead live. The city.
No, I don't know about that.
Cool. How far are we to the top?
Well, how are we going to get across the lake? He asks you.
Oi.
Is that the next step?
We could walk around the edge, but it would be very slippery, and I think that you'd probably fall. You appear to be very fat and clumsy, all of you.
It sounds like there's a large predator probably in the lake.
If you slip in, then the monster of the lake will devour you.
Awesome.
I thought you said this way carried no dangers.
Well, until the lake, I meant.
King Goblin.
Right, let's also remind you it's the Underdark.
True.
Wait, so how did the goblins on across?
We normally go and get some Zerkwood. We find a mushroom, break up the top of the mushroom, and jump on.
Does it not eat you while you're traveling across on a mushroom?
How many goblins do you live with every time you do that?
My uncle drowned.
That's how I became warlord. I was thinking of finding the mushrooms and trying to fashion a sturdy boat with it.
All right, that'll help you look here on the shores of the face. We might find some Zerkwood. Might have to go, exploring for a mile in any particular direction, but they're pretty confident that there's a lot of Zerkwood around the edge of this place.
Hmm.
How long do you think it would take you, Artisan, to build a craft large and sturdy enough to hold us all?
I could try my hand at a marvelous invention.
Moog is a carpenter for military stuff.
Hmm.
Like a Roman soldier.
You could give me advantage, I think. Do you have +12 to your thing? Or more?
I don't know what the plus is. It just carpentry and stone cutting. I mean masonry.
I reckon if you assisted him, you'd probably get advantage.
Yeah. If you did, would give me automatic advantage since you are skilled in it as well.
It's probably going to take like all 8 hours to make something like that, though.
Yeah.
Which means you take a level of exhaustion.
We don't have to leave right away. There's no Egyptian army at our back that is forcing us to part the Red Sea here.
Well, then perhaps in that case, all of us will set to work so we can get it done as quickly as possible and then take our rest.
Would a marvelous invention suffice to make a strong, sturdy boat to cross?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, what's the
No,
wording?
more like a raft, because I think there's like a 50 gold piece limit or something on it, and a strong, sturdy boat is 500 gold pieces. But a plank of wood, on the other hand, a bit cheaper.
We're going to go through the crazy wizard zone where we start floating across on a plank of wood.
Yeah.
We're stuck in the Underdark. It's like hell.
That's right. We got goblin guides.
That's what I would propose. I'd propose that we spend the time, all of us working together to get this done as quickly as possible, and then rest before we cross.
We can spend a couple days here. We don't have to rush it to drown.
Well, the
I mean, I
goblins
know.
might be insistent that we leave sooner.
Are they?
I don't know.
Do what we tell them to.
The goblins
was the-
try to leave if we take a long rest, they would try to pack up and leave and just leave us here, try to sneak away, but we spot them, sneaking away.
We're not done
That's the
with it
reason I
yet.
have my...
We brought you to
the top.
to the surface of the water.
Fucking goblins, goddammit.
That was half the reason I had my...
It's not far from here.
What is your definition of not far?
It's a little bit further,
You're coming with us to the top.
but we can't swim. We don't have boats.
We'll make it worth your while.
Can you perhaps not ride your bat creature there along the walls or the ceiling?
Yes, I'll be okay, but what of my wives and children?
Let them ride the bat in turns.
No, nobody rides the bat. I ride the bat.
Is there something that we could show him that he wants other than the hammer that we'll give him when we reach the top?
We can show him all of our arms and equipment, or most of it, and say that I crafted it, and I can craft something for him.
Fine. Tell him that. Make a deal.
But
You'll
what
make
do
him
you
the most.
have now? I want it now.
We can slaughter your family now.
And by the way, I'm not going to translate any threats.
That was a small comment.
I'm growing more fond of this goblin.
I suppose, do we really need them to go any further?
We need to get to the top. This going over water is just a bad idea. Moog's all about going back to the crazy wizard town.
Hmm.
Water
Crazy
in
wizard
dwarves is not a good place. We we went down the wrong path. We need to adjust. Moog is all about bypassing this water and going back to what are the other options.
Yeah, the crazy wizard town. I get what you mean.
Alrighty then. So I guess it's up for a vote, I suppose. Do we attempt to cross the water, or do we backtrack and go to the crazy wizard cave?
We can ask, well, do the goblins know of any other ways to top besides over the water?
It's the third.
Yeah, there's 3 ways.
The third way was a way where the floor is covered in obsidian glass, which would tear you to ribbons if you tried to walk across it.
And what was the other one?
A place where weird stuff is said to happen, where like you become confused or you start levitating or all kinds of weird things happen.
This might be one of the safest, given our options.
Well, they said that there's a monster in the lake.
The dwarf is always going to not want the water, so any other one, this is perilous, we're going to die. This is a bad idea. Let's turn around.
We can always
make our way around the side.
It's perilous. We're going to die. Bad idea. Let's turn around.
Well, there's
What
one
was
boat to turn around.
I'm in favor of crossing.
One for crossing, one for turning around.
Yes,
Just quickly,
I guess token piles.
quickly ask the goblin if they've actually crossed this river, or whether they should bring us here to turn around.
Yes, we float on big mushrooms. Not everyone survives.
Right, we're turning around. It's perilous. We're all gonna
You
die.
have ever been through the mage's place?
Yes. Some very strange things happen within there. Strange lights and sounds, and Larry grew tentacles. Never had hands ever again.
Flightless does not.
Does everyone survive though?
Oh yes, but he had tentacles.
What about the glass?
Oh well, if you need glass, then there's plenty there. It's everywhere. There is a illumination that is growing brighter out there on the lake. There's already a lot of lights, as we know, phase rest appearing in the roof, but this one is more like a lantern, and it's getting closer.
Hey, look, it's the
work
monster.
out from the group and just try to listen out to see if there's any sound coming from the light as well.
That might be the predator and a lure.
Maybe. We have no idea what this creature actually
That's the
looks like.
goblin. What's that light?
I don't know. Maybe it's the lake monster.
I guess Flight just hold up his hand for silence and then try to listen to see if you can hear anything coming from like where the light is.
Make a perception check. It's
28.
huge. It is a boat. A gondola barge, probably big enough to carry maybe 8 or 9 people, possibly a single cow or a horse or something like that. Yeah, maybe a couple of calves. Anyway, it's a gondola barge that is being pushed along silently by a creature that kind of looks like a skeleton wearing a cloak, but it has little horns. And it has eyes within its skull-like visage. So you're not sure if it is a skeleton or it just really looks like one.
I guess he'll open his beak and from it come the sounds of the pole hitting the water, the waves against the boat, and as it approaches it gets louder. Is this the one Flightless and Artisan saw before, where we gave him a coin and he let us pass?
It looks remarkably similar.
He'll indicate that he might have seen this one before, or someone similar to this one.
Some sort of berry.
He'll say that he gave one gold coin and it ferried him to the other side.
Well, then, if
when did we run into this?
So, session 1, how did we escape the Underdark? There was,
okay.
Yeah, we ran into 3 different encounters. And one of them was the skeletal ferry, where I had 1 gold to give.
Well, if this is a similar situation, perhaps that makes this a lot easier. We have plenty to pay.
Does the boat come to the shore?
It does, and the waves gently lap against the shore, and a few crabs run out of the way. A turtle pops its head underneath the surface again as this barge comes to the edge of the shore, and the ferryman with his skeletal bony hands grabs his gondola pole and holds the boat steady.
Flightless will approach the boat. I guess he'll get a gold coin first, but then approach the boat, see if he gets a response.
He says some words to you. You've heard them before.
Do I understand the language?
Yeah, the common tongue.
Oh, okay. And I assume he wants payment?
He says the prophecy again.
Oh, the Pale Water Prophecy?
Yeah.
Are you taking us to the castle? The Skull Castle?
There's no other response.
I believe he would be.
Well, this is undeniably creepy.
Are you ready to lead an army, lads?
I still have my doubts whether we can just walk in there and have a legion of undead at our disposal. It seems far-fetched.
Can you? Isn't there a thing we can do where where one of the party members can commune with a god and ask their advice on it?
High level. Higher
It's
than
like
us.
5th level, I think.
What was the thing that we had done before?
Ceremony, but I think commune is where you're guaranteed to get a response. Ceremony is more like a token gesture, and maybe they might say something.
Yeah, because we did atonement for Eleanor's perceived crimes, and the consequence for the crimes was, the divine quest.
Yeah, to hollow the shrine in Teliamar, I believe it was. Well, this is the way to the surface, and this boat is very convenient.
Well, we're not going to the surface.
You're not?
Yeah. We'll see. That would be good if the fates say. If the Queen of the Dead decide we go to the surface, I guess we're going to the surface.
The dead have also been there for years, so you would likely wait a few more days.
All right. I say that's a safe boat.
If you say so. Well then, I suppose this is where we and our goblin entourage part ways, as there isn't enough room for all of us.
Oh, that's terrible. I guess we'll just have to turn back.
We can always take the leader with us.
Oh, no, my bat doesn't like the water.
Go.
I think they've taken us far enough.
I say goodnight, my goblin friends, and I'll give him 2 platinum.
What's this do?
When you run into other people like us, you can use it to buy food.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much.
Or you can just throw it at people. Up to you.
He
And I'll
goes,
just leave.
he goes over to a spider's ass and wipes his hand on it and offers you some silk.
No, thank you. You're good. Maybe use that silk to make some pants for your friend.
Revolutionary idea. He gives it some thought. But I kind of like walking around in a tribe that has no pants.
To each their own, I suppose.
So yeah, we hop onto this boat, and he does indeed take or hold out his hand, looking for some kind of offering or payment.
He'll place that gold coin that he took from the party wealth into the waiting palm.
All right, and then he looks at the rest of you, holds out his hand again.
I guess a gold coin for each of us.
Put a gold coin in his hand.
Excellent. Takes the coins and puts them into a pocket within his coat that just seems to be ethereal. It just you don't hear them clink any further during the journey. They're just gone. And this lake is quite shallow enough that the gondola pole steadily paces its way almost through the middle of it. So it's never more than about 20 or maybe at most 30 feet deep, and he winds his way through the canals such as he knows them. Until at last we come to the edge on the other side. It takes no more than 20 or 30 minutes. It's a pebbly beach, remarkably similar to the one that we were just on, except it leads to a large, broad cavern, maybe 60 feet wide and 30 feet high, that continues to open up into an open... So call it an open air environment. That's not correct, because it's still the Underdark. It's still enclosed, but a place where the roof is at least too high to see, and in the distance you can see a flame burning at an elevation of maybe 100 feet, 150 feet above where we are. So in the distance there's this great open area, huge open cavern that for all intensive purposes is outdoors, save for the fact that it's got a ceiling a couple of 100 feet above, and in the distance a blue flame.
Hmm.
Crabs scuttle away. Snails barely notice you're passing. Phase rest drifts along the water, occasionally luring fish into jumping out and trying to eat it.
Well then, shall we take our opportunity to rest here before proceeding? We have an abundant supply of water and food. We may not find a better campsite for quite some time.
I'd say we should.
All right. Hours pass. During that time, you see a number of toads and a number of spiders and a number of creatures that are harder to describe, but no humanoids. And the animals tend to keep that as distance or are warned off with a few well-placed shots. And thus we get our long rest in on the edge of this underdark lake, this glimmering sea.
Nice.
Whether it's day or night, morning or noon, we don't know. But we head deeper um, to towards this light that we see in the distance. And after traveling through this open cavern for a 1,000 feet or so, with small ferns and bushes growing pretty abundantly in this cavern, they gradually give way, the life that is, to bare stone, until not a single sprout can be seen here, not a single lichen or mold grows, and you're coming up towards a huge castle that is carved out of the stone. It is of drow design, but it harkens back to a drow golden age, which passed 10,000 years ago, back when the elves were the masters of this world's destiny. And this huge castle is built into the stone itself. It is one with the cavern wall, meaning that it's really only a pair of gates that are the only egress between, well, the only reason why it's a fortress at all, as the fortress is inside, and the gates are the only part of the structure that differs from it just being a part of the cave. You're still at least 1,000 feet away from it, and high up and above, you can see a burning blue flame that is illuminating, and countless scraps of armor and bone and weapons seem to be scattered out the front of these gates, as if they broke there and then were just discarded.
Awesome.
You're intent on proceeding into this castle?
Where else do we have to go? This is divine intervention. The
Divine
Lady
intervention.
of the Dead wants us to partake in some kind of adventure with her.
I guess you point out that, what is it, Bane also wanted them to partake in a Zentarm adventure?
Yeah. I've already made enemies of one god.
Lolth wanted Flightless to take part in an adventure of being a slave.
Cool adventure.
What about that orc god? That orc god as well. He wanted us to like do something.
But we're
We
kind of
didn't
stuck in the Underdark.
Is there no other passage, or is the castle the only way?
I guess his point
to proceed?
is, just because a god demands it doesn't mean necessarily that it's a must. We must do it.
Yes.
You could easily pass on straight by, past the gates. They are built into the wall after all, and the great vaulting cavern continues on beyond that.
So it's possible to proceed without actually entering the castle.
Absolutely.
Alrighty.
I guess we could.
Is intent on going in.
Yeah. I think it may be best to try to wait and then come for the dead army if they are going to be our army.
And also, when the night survives and daylight dies, it's not part of the prophecy that Flightless particularly wants. The Underdark is an awful place, and he likes the sun.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, I am curious, but at the same time, even if it does turn out to be true, and these undead do turn out to be controllable by us, I'm not certain that I want that.
This eternal life bit, is that like us turning into mummies?
Who knows?
I just want to send an undead army to Tethymir.
They also said
Screw up the
specifically
Zentarm.
drow,
Right.
so they might, like, any order besides drow might not be heated.
But after we defeat the drow, what next?
That's to say they'd listen to us any further.
Where do we become powerful liches.
Because everyone in the party wants to become a lich. We get Moog does apparently.
Rogue just wants to crush Tathimir and the vengeance on the Zentharum.
Violet just wants to vibe,
Survive.
but like he just wants to
Oh.
get out, get his friends. That's about it.
Well, frankly,
Bringing
if you
upon
do
the
decide to,
apocalypse isn't something he wants.
yeah, if we do enter the castle, then it is no doubt a place full of evil. So I'd be happy to enter it for the purpose of purging said evil, but to take control of it and try to wield it as a weapon, I can't get behind that.
Yeah. It's too bad. Doesn't.
But wielding evil to do good.
That's true. That's like the one ring. That's why Gandalf couldn't touch the ring.
Except the One Ring, it was a trick. There was no real power. It just corrupts you.
Well, it seems like we need to have another vote. Go into the castle or don't.
I'd say revisit it at another time.
Plus one
He
for
said,
don't.
knowing that we would never come back here again.
I mean, I asked that we map this, so
It is destiny. Allegedly.
yeah, our party's all about destiny apparently.
It's a pretty valid point.
And
And
draw the circles.
and it's easily like maybe like these are conditions that will happen before we like, and what's when you at last swallow your pride. So maybe all of these things have to happen, and then we will decide to go into the castle.
Well, we gotta go to the abyss and save the girl, and we got to make a deal with the Queen of Undead.
You know what I'm saying? All of the things apart from the last 3 lines can pretty much happen independent of us, apart from the last 4 lines.
Mm.
One of those lines has already happened.
Which one?
When the spider screams and cries. If that's lol, she's already imprisoned according to the prophet.
Mm.
The knight survives.
That could be like an eclipse or something.
Could be.
When you shall ask the dead to rise, who's dead that you want to bring back? Anybody? You've got a girl that's down there and you want her to rise? Give
But she's
counsel
apparently
to the
not
wise.
dead.
I think we're missing a lot of information at the moment.
Yeah, like it specifies a vampire. I don't think we've
I haven't met the
encountered any.
vampire. This looks fun.
Like, I mean,
I'm all
like,
about going to the
some of
top.
these are like really open to interpretation. Like when you hear the source, so smile. Well, Mara was part sorcerer. We probably saw her smile.
True.
So, I think at the moment, well, Flightless doesn't want to go in because it's drow stuff, and he's scared. But also, not enough of the prophecy has come into alignment yet. He thinks.
Well, then we have to decide whether we're going in or not.
Okay, I guess I will draw a line. If you're on the right side of that black line, you want to like leave.
Well, this is how you vote. That's cool.
Are you on the
We've
fence?
got one for out.
It's Strauss.
Moog
He
said-
doesn't want to be involved.
Horse doesn't get a vote.
No.
It's good to see that Charco is on my side.
That's 2
Alright.
for out.
If you're all taking the out, I'm looking forward to coming back.
Right then, I guess we're going to be overwhelmingly in favor of out.
Alright, so we do not go and fly for our undead army at this time.
I think if more of the prophecy comes true, we'd be more apt to go through with it.
However, Moog is a devotee of the god of war, and he bows and to the queen of death. Gives a wink.
Huh.
Uh,
You look up towards all those bones and scraps of armor and weapons that are scattered out in front of the closed doors.
Hmm.
I guess we need to bypass.
Alright. We bypass the entirely optional dungeon.
That would have been awesome.
Alright. Okay. So, Pyro, a D12, please.
D12.
Get us to the top.
Alright, Eleanor, D12.
Okay.
Flightless, 1D12. Morg, a D12.
We just need that
please.
9.
Alright.
One job.
Morg, a D70, please.
So it's R slash
Yeah, /R space D70.
slash R space D.
33. Alright. Okay, so we travel along this path for quite some time. There's not a lot in the way of offshoots here because it's just a big, broad, open cave. But it gradually narrows and narrows and narrows over the course of a few hundred feet to where it just becomes a single, well-worn cave that is more or less flat and more or less consistently 20 feet wide and 10 feet high. It's natural. But it's probably been worked at some stage in its distance past, or maybe nature just shaped it this way. But it travels on for a long time, and we walk along this path for hours and hours, and offshoot branches get fewer and fewer. Whole place is just one great big granite lump that we're more or less tunneling through, in a way, until we reach an area of liquid. It appears to be water that transparent, clear water that extends as far as is our dark vision only 60 feet?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So it extends as far as our dark vision can see. But in the middle of this, maybe about 40 or 50 feet away from our shore is an island. And so it's a pool of still water that is about 40 feet long. There's an island. Then there's another, disappears off into the darkness. Can't see beyond it. The cavern is clear, and there's nothing living here.
No, nothing swimming about in the water.
You look inside the water, and there's no animals at all. No insects, no worms, nothing.
Can I test the water?
How do you test the water?
Like alchemy, see if there's anything that is a reason in the water itself that this place is devoid of life.
Yeah, sure. You take a D4 damage as you put in your hand in there, and it's pure acid. Yeah, fuck. That really, really hurt. But luckily, you only just gave it a little tiny splash, since 2 is such a tiny fragment of your hit points. But yeah, that's not water at all. That's some crystal clear, transparent acid.
Hmm. Well, this is unfortunate.
There hasn't been many side paths. We could go back and find one, but we'll be detouring, and it's going to set us back a couple of hours.
Well, let's see if we can figure out a way to get past it.
Is there any giant mushrooms nearby?
Yeah, but you put the giant mushroom in the acid and it starts getting immediately.
Something's light. Would my shield be able to float on it?
Yeah, maybe.
I assume because it's magical, it can't be acided away.
Yeah, that's a good theory. Sucks to be wrong, but it's a good theory.
I feel like that's going to be a lot of checks to stay standing on it.
This is madness. We're all going to die. Let's turn around.
I wanted to make a little boat out of my shield and dragon and just go across.
It might work.
For you, it might work. This is madness. We're all going to die. Let's turn around.
I thought you
I
were a
have
big fan of
my-
death now.
Yeah. Don't you want to join your brethren in the keep? No.
I'm going to go to the keep directly then. Become a war lich.
Well, look, out of curiosity, I'll pick up a pebble or something and cast light on it, and then just throw it as hard as I possibly can, just to see how long this acid lake extends.
All right, snap. Something on the island shoots out its tentacle and grabs the rock out of the middle of the air, puts it underneath into its mouth, and gobbles it up.
That's a nope.
Madness. We're all going to die. We're not going to have a fight on an acid ocean.
I guess for that,
Water.
back to the fort.
All right, boys, ladies, let's go.
Yeah,
We could try one of
seeing
the- We could try an offshoot.
Let's go to the fort and see what they have asking for us. It seems like these paths.
It seems we tried to avoid Destiny, and Destiny was like, no.
It's at the end of the plans. It was random. It was definitely random. But that's definitely for you.
Is that why you said completely optional dungeon?
No, I really meant it.
Completely
Absolutely.
optional path to make a pact with the Queen of the Dead.
Yeah, but like we just pointed out, this is Destiny. It's not about me railroading you. It's about you accepting the truth.
Well, then we're gonna have to backtrack regardless.
All
Where's
right,
the-
but we,
what do we need
do
to
have
roll?
our options. We can
Where's
try
the
to find other
Surf
paths.
Where's
Yeah,
the
where are the
Surf
snow? They're on there. They're on there. I think there's 2 out of 70 chance, so it's not very good. It's not great odds. But if we spend enough hours down here, it's inevitable. We will run into them. But so that if you want to take an offshoot, you absolutely can. And if you want to return to the this the fortress, you can. And if you want to go back to the water, there's probably going to be more than one shore.
Things unfortunately, fortresses might. Well, unfortunately for not going in there, fortress would probably have a safer way to the surface.
You think there's a tunnel from within the fortress that leads to the top?
I mean, he knows of 2, what's it, the Blades 2 and Tediamar, and both of them have entrances to the Underdark and out.
Very
And the
good.
Drow do raiding parties, so I think they'd have a way to the surface.
Those are very good points. From what we've seen, it seems like big installations like this do have passages to the surface. Well then, it seems like our most direct path to the surface might actually be through the fort.
The completely optional fort.
Well, if that's the way we want to go, I will go that way. But I will destroy any undead I come across and not try to command them.
Well, let's see if we can talk our way up to the top first, and then we can.
Party proceeds to restrain Eleanor.
Let's
let me
not
out
go
of-
to war with every undead down here.
Deus Vault, Deus Vault.
They are the dead, so we don't have much in common. Let's be honest.
Real.
All right, so we make our way back through this passageway, all the way back to where the blue flame shines in the vast vaulting cavern, and we stand now again in front of a pair of gates. It vaguely looks like a skull if the gates are the mouth. There's stone embankments that are cavernous, that are like eye sockets, and another one for the nose socket, and but it's hard to tell whether it was natural or whether it's been used with spells or a combination of the two. But anyway, there we are at the front of these closed gates, huge petrified wood gates, and there's scraps of armor and weapons, shields, helmets, lying all over the ground at the front here, including bones of every description, from skulls to rib cages, hands and feet. They're all over the place. The place is littered with scraps of armaments and bone.
Are they all humanoid bone?
You pick through them, and they do look to be not only humanoid, but make a medicine check. Mostly elves, more than half of them. More than 3/4 perhaps are elves.
It's odd that this pile of bones and scattered armaments are located only here, right outside the gate.
Wow.
Could be they were killed by some sort of defense mechanism.
Maybe they are the defense mechanism.
Or you
Turn
think
into
they'll
a skeleton as soon as we turn our backs.
perhaps.
Maybe they also thought they were the chosen ones.
Let's see what the Queen of the Undead wants.
Well, we're
I
gonna need
can
to find a way
send-
to get through these gates somehow.
Yeah. I can send my Still Defender up to see if it, like, croaks immediately.
Yeah, does it just get zapped by some sort of invisible fences?
Yeah. I'll have my Still Defender walk up to the door then, unless anyone else wanted to do anything beforehand.
Not
Still
really.
defender
Okay.
walks through the carnage or the wastage or the trash, all the way up to the petrified wood door. It's as hard as stone, and it looks to be impenetrable. There's no death effects. There's no effects of any sort that you could see. The place looks to be completely undisturbed. The only thing is that you're leaving some paw prints as you walk through the dust. Dust and not exactly cobwebs, because even the cobwebs have kind of deteriorated, but just dust is quite thick here.
You could try knocking. If no one's opposed to it, I guess he can knock on the door.
The dog leans up there with one hand on its neck, knock. It sounds like solid stone. These doors would take catapult blows with and shrug them off.
Is there a apparent opening mechanism from the outside?
No, none. No, nothing obvious.
Mm.
Well,
Moog
there's a few
says, "You asked us to come. We're here. What you want us to do now?"
We can recite the prophecy.
There you go.
Flightless can repeat it exactly as it is. Yeah.
Repeat the prophecy as the prophet gave it to us.
Saying the words doesn't do anything.
Okay, can he examine the door to see how it, like, the mechanics of the door function? Like, what, like, would this be like a lever or like a pulley system on where these things
Yeah,
work?
go. Yeah, you can make a investigation roll.
Can I help him to put him at advantage?
Yeah, one. Yeah, sure. We've got all the time in the world.
20.
It seems to be operated from the other side. So there's no apparent way of opening this, and there's no apparent way in. The doors appear to be, for all intents and purposes, indestructible. There is no mechanism. There is an entire entourage of skeletal warriors lying all over the ground in pieces. They have like their shields and other devices, great big maces, but there's no way in that you can see.
Okay, examining the bodies, is there any like connecting factors like with what items they have or what injuries like were done to, like, I guess, the skeletal remains?
They don't look like they've suffered injuries at all. They just look like they dropped here. And the majority of them are elves. They're all kind of Imperial Guard, something like that. They look like they are well equipped with weapons of the era, weapons and equipment of the era, and they made things good back then. So even thousands of years later, they're still lasting in some kind of deteriorated fashion. But these look like palace guards. The army is further back there, but right up here at the front door are a handful of guards that are dressed more regally than others. They've got like cymbals and gongs and great big knockers for the gongs. Um, yeah, and those gongs have stood the test of time.
Maybe we should knock their gongs.
Maybe.
We could try hitting the gongs, yeah.
Guess we'll strike a gong.
So everyone's walking up to the front gate now?
Yep.
Yes, as we approach,
All
Flightless
right.
will cast Bless on himself, Eleanor, and Finnick.
You step over or in between or on top of countless bones and broken weapons and fragments of chainmail and so on, helmets.
We'll
You stand
weave
now in front of
between.
Sorry?
Weave between them.
Yeah, absolutely. No problems. You avoid the death tetanus. And we come to the great stone doors, great wood doors that are petrified into stone. And pick up the gong and bong, hit it. It wobbles and shakes and lets out a discordant note. You bend the gong and bend the handle of the bomby knocker. So it echoes for a while, but
Does the prophecy say anything about opening the gate?
I mean,
Not that I can
interpretation-wise, a
remember.
lot of these could open the door. Like, it could be just as simple as asking the skeleton to open the door for us. Or we could...
Ask the skeletons around us to stand up. Ask the dead to rise.
is that a decision?
Guess it's worth a try. Just
Yeah.
open mouth and speak.
And they do. The whole army, roughly 100, a century of skeletons, all stand up, take their shields and their spears, their bows and their helms, and they stand to attention. Another one grabs the gong and takes the knocker and beats on it. And as they then resume into their formal position, standing upright, armed and equipped with whatever's left of their armaments, the doors begin to open.
Well, it actually worked.
Good job.
I guess the next would be give counsel to the wise. And so that could either mean a few things. Like that could either mean like we're powerful and giving wisdom, or maybe we're like fools giving wisdom to people who don't need it. That'd be interesting to see which one's the correct one.
Who knows?
We got an army of undead. Let's keep walking.
You walk into a dark hallway, long and grand, and maybe once upon a time opulent, though the chandelier has fallen from the roof and shattered on the floor, and it remains where it fell, and the carpet has all but rotted away until it's as stiff as a board, and its pattern is no longer discernible. And the paintings that hang along the edge of the corridors have been so eaten by mildew that they're just black now. And even the mildew has begun to peel away from the rest of the product. And as we walk through this antique area that has forgotten what celebrations were, but must have once known a long time ago how to hold a ball, we find ourselves approaching or passing by or being passed by shuffling undead, mostly elves, not exclusively, but mostly elves, and these husks of people still wearing their crumbling armor mostly stand to attention and remain where they are, but a few are mobile, running into walls or turning in circles.
What an army.
Talimir.
So when you become a mummy and we start eating each other, will we complete the cycle of Telimar?
There you go. It's
You
fate.
never got rid of the curse. You would have been more powerful than these guys. They're going to be lowly zombies. You'd have been like a mummy. That's awesome. Really missed out. Missed opportunity.
This is big business.
I guess-
Alright.
I think we could.
So it's a
I guess that would.
long corridor.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say it's a long corridor. So, what do you do?
I think we should just follow the corridor to where it leads because it doesn't seem like we just passed through 100 soldiers that just let us go by their leave, and it looks like we could just explore till we come to where we're supposed to be.
Fate has
I
brought
don't
us
think
this
we.
far.
I don't think we need to be. I don't think we need to be cautious. Is what I'm saying. There's no traps. if they didn't spear us at this point,
Famous last words.
yeah.
So I'll make sure the dwarf is in front of me.
That's fine.
Good idea. Good idea. Solid steel and flesh shield is good. Alright. So we advance through this corridor, and some of the soldiers salute us, and others are missing their arms, so they can't. But we make our way down towards a banquet hall. It's a very large single room with an enormous table, very spacious area, and you can see that zombie servants are shuffling it around, such as it is, to clear the table and put down ornaments and bring out silverware, and they appear to be preparing for something, and it all appears to be quite rushed. They try to put down the tablecloth and the platters on top of it, and zombies are pretty bad at customer service, ultimately. They're not very satisfactory. And they're mindlessly bumbling into each other, and there's a single individual creature that appears to be made completely of darkness. Like darkness if it could wear a shadow. There's this brooding, inky blackness caught up within its cloak, within its robe, contained only by its robe, is shuffling and nervously trying to control these zombies, trying to criticize all of their imperfections, and doesn't seem to notice as you're getting closer. But it's not just the zombies and this shadow encased in a cloak. You can hear the sound of a choir singing, and there's a glowing choir of a few dark elven women who are singing, but they're ethereal. They're just a spectral image of a woman, multiple spectral images of perhaps the same woman, and they all sing slightly different notes to each other, making a bit of a chorus, and they're singing the Pale Water Prophecy, while another spectral image, this one choosing to appear as a warrior with armor and sword, remains back, not fussing around like the shadow in a cloak is, and not singing like the ghostly girls are, but hanging back and brooding, perhaps. In addition to the zombies and the spectral images, there are a number of armed warriors, their flesh all having long since rotted away from their face. Most of them appear to be quite skeletal, though a few still hold mummified bandages of flesh in place, and purple light glows within their eyes, a testament to their eternal vigil.
Hmm.
The shadow in its cloak continues to chastise the zombies. It's clearly very unimpressed with their efforts. Like they are not. They are. This is an important day today, and you're messing it up.
Say greetings.
Oh, greetings. They have come. The heralds of the prophecy are here. Come, please. Take your seat. Won't you sit down? We are delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
Looks to Eleanor for guidance.
I'll move towards the table and stand next to a chair, but I won't sit down.
Please, sit down.
Rogue sits.
Yes. Well, push this chair in. No, don't push him. Push the chair in. Are you comfortable?
Very.
And you just sitting down and immediately, like, a zombie hand just, like, smears blood and, like, across your face and tries to push you in.
They still have blood after thousands of years.
Slime.
Yeah.
Rot.
Even if there's. Dude,
Please sit. It is the custom of your people to sit.
I guess Flightless will sit.
Yes.
I'll sit on the
Yes.
table.
Yes. Is
Artisan.
that how it is done?
Offer me.
It must put you closer to your food. Yes. The food! Please bring the food! Yes. We are very delighted to have you here. It is a day when we bridge our worlds and we come together for the greater grandeur of the future. Yes. The zombies serve up these silver platters of mummified meat that's wrapped in white moldy powders and peaches that have dried up till they're just husks, and they get gauntlets, rusty gauntlets that still have the cobwebs and the dust inside them, and they splash this elven wine into there, and it comes out and just smells like strongest vinegar. Welcome to the banquet, where we shall celebrate the union of our two worlds.
Guess I'll look down at the food and I'll be like, oh, shame, I already ate before I came here, but thanks.
He looks at you. You are offended by my offerings.
Oh no, I ate some worms before I came here, so I'm all good.
Make a deception check.
Wait, I did eat worms.
Well, you have advantage because at least that part's true. I have angered you, and you will not eat my offering. You have come here to reject our terms.
We have not heard your terms.
You have come here because you wish to wage violence upon us.
If we did that, then do we look like we come violently?
I'm still
Then
standing.
why will you not eat my offering? Why?
Your offering is dead. It is rotten.
It is
We're
food.
still alive. It is not. Not for our kind.
But the
Let's
living
not
eat
worry
and
about
drink.
that. Let's not worry. We have the sustenance we need. Let's talk.
Oh, yes.
Who are you?
I have disappointed you. I see this now. I am the High Priest of Kiaran Sali, and I fear that we are not acting fast enough.
Why would Kia Sali give any shits about us?
It is the prophecy.
Why us? I heard the prophecy. I hear nothing about our party.
The prophecy predicts that you will lead the army of the dead, and the other spirit, the masculine warrior at the back, who's beginning to have purple light glow within his eyes, and he's fuming at this. But he still says nothing. It's the prophecy that you will come to us and you will fulfill all of the prophecy, and together we will reshape the world.
We're here.
You just need faith.
We're here, aren't we? Who's the angry warrior?
Malagor does not believe in the prophecy. He thinks it's foolish that the living and the dead should align. But he has no faith, and I wonder where his soul will reside when at last he is sent off this world. For if you have no faith, Malagor, then can you truly reside with Kia Rensali? I think not.
Well, he is here.
Yes. He is here, and so are you. Evidence that the prophecy is coming true. So, what shall be our next move, my lords.
You said we would reshape the world. In what way?
Yes, let us march on this arena and put all of the drow to the sword, and we will kill all of their slaves and all of their servants, and we will add them to our army.
You don't intend to stop there, do you?
No, no, then we will march on the Stockhold, and we will kill the drow, and we will kill all of their slaves, and we will kill their servants and add them to our army.
And when all of the drow and their minions are dead?
We will move on to Mayra Mahadra. Ah, yes, yes, and we will kill all of the drow, and we will kill all of their slaves, and all of their servants shall be added to our army.
I guess just like, Flightless doesn't. He doesn't think that anyone could beat the Drow, and two, like the Drow slaves include all of his friends.
Yeah.
He's not going to get a weapon. He's just going to stand up from the table at this point.
Why is the Queen of the Dead going to war with Loth?
Because of the silence of Loth. Loth has dead. And it is time for us to sweep away all vestiges of her priesthood.
Are you so sure she is dead?
Because of the silence of Loth.
Loth is the Queen of Chaos. Of course she'll be silent, just to see what happens.
But well, if that is true, and I highly do not believe that would be the truth, but if that is true, then now is the time to act, for she is vulnerable.
I don't see how this arrangement benefits us. It seems to me that you and your kind have a millennia-long vendetta against this Loth, and you would see us fight your battle for you.
Why do you need the living to lead your party?
It is the prophecy.
I suppose it's like how old, basically. I guess meaning how old is the prophecy?
It's very, very new. Why? Why is this important?
I guess the further back the prophecy is, the less likely it is to be true. Because the prophecy might very well predate Flightless's birth if it's like.
This is a new prophecy.
A prophecy, the Queen of the Dead wants to rise against Loth. How do we know the Queen of the Dead and Loth are not in some kind of an agreement to create chaos in the underworld and test her worshippers?
Well,
how do we know? What is in it for us?
I highly doubt that this is the case, but if it is, then we must show our piety and serve. You must have faith. Malagor has no faith. He does not believe in the prophecy. Ha, Malagor! Where will you go when you finally leave this world, if you have no faith? Ha!
He'll ask Malagor what he thinks.
Malagor broods. Malagor wants to kill you. Like he's not.
I could tell. Yeah.
He's not hiding it. Like you living piece of. No.
He just mad.
Is
Is he dead?
Yes, right.
I'm almost like mirroring him, like standing opposite him from the other side of the room with the same kind of hateful look in my eyes.
Yeah.
We're like mirror images of each other.
Let's destroy each other. Alright. Well, we might leave it there for the week. Over your plate of dried dates and mummified flesh. Vinegar to wash it down with.
Sweet.
Entirely optional, I absolutely assure you. It's not my fault that Destiny forced you here.
Well,
Like,
getting
it's
a
been a strange one.